different surface, and he even won a Division 2 title with Guildford Phoenix. For ex-Liverpool centre-back Daniel Agger, it wasn't just fancy footwork that was in his blood. He was also pretty good with his hands. The Denmark international turned to tattoo artistry after he hung up his boots. He'd qualified as a skin artist while at Anfield, and he then became the co-owner of his own tattoo company as well. It's not all glamour for ex-pros, though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf, the former Chelsea defender, was part of the 1998 France squad who won the World Cup. He ended up marking Brazil's Ronaldo in the final and helped his side to a 3-0 win. But Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything.
I embrace the career of acting, so I want to learn more. So seeing lots of movies is a part of my job.
To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Arsenal grind out a 1-0 win at Manchester United. Does the evidence suggest that this Arsenal outfit can go one step further this time around? And are we now seeing the Amorim stamp on Manchester United? Meantime, will it be third time lucky for breaking the recent promoted trend? Also today, are we witnessing the Potter slumped? Has Eze played his final game for Palace? Did we learn anything new about Moses Atama? Can horse racing strike their way out of the autumn budget? And ahead of Leeds versus Everton, who has more to prove this season, Grealish or Dominic Calvert-Lewin? This is Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim Whyte and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So there is a phrase, Simon, put your money where your mouth is.
Indeed.
And I didn't do it. Because, Martin Keown, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good to see you, mate. Last week, Martin, when we were talking boxing, I turned to Simon as we were leaving the studio. I can't remember if I said this on air or off it.
I think you said it on air. You backed Atama to knock him out in the first round.
I did.
You did.
I backed Moses Atama. The problem is...
we scoffed at it. Myself and Duke scoffed at it, and it probably dissuaded you from your gut feel. So the moral of the story is, don't ever listen to me when it comes to betting on anything.
I didn't go with it. And Martin, you probably saw on Saturday night.
I did.
And heard on talkSPORT. Atama absolutely did a job on Dillian Whyte. Simon, what about Whyte? I mean, we're going to get to this later on this morning, but I mean, what happened to him?
I just think he was mentally miles off. I think all week people were trying to work out what this disposition was that he was exhibiting, which seemed to be someone that was contrite and sort of bowing down to the new Superman, and people thought that he was being facetious. And the reality of it is, you saw him walk into an auditorium completely unaroused by the circumstances that were about to face him. That's not to suggest that Moses Atama doesn't deserve all the plaudits that he will inevitably get. But that wasn't a live one. And I know that it will antagonise the Frank Warrens of the world and all the boxing experts, but I don't think that you can gain much from that.
Simon, do you think Dillian Whyte cutting his weight? Because he kind of convinced me that he was really up for this. Cut his weight, did it?
I think everyone sat there thinking, well, what's that about? He's in great shape.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing to suggest that when a fighter gets into great shape, that's an indicator of their mental state, because the fighters should be in great shape anyway. But he wasn't, and all week he was having a pop at people saying, the pundits, all the experts, all you guys know. Well, it turns out they kind of did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because you got knocked out in the first round, and with due respect to Moses Atama, it looked like you couldn't get out of there fast enough, despite your protestations when the referee had waved the fight off.
That's right. We're going to get to that later this morning. Martin, just the image of you in Fortnum and Mason, I'm going to put it out there. I was in Fortnum and Mason, which is a very posh place, of course, in London, on Friday, having scones and sandwiches. It was a lovely occasion, very nice. Cups of tea, Assam tea. And then Mr. Keown reveals to me that you've actually done that as well. I cannot imagine Arsenal invincible Martin Keown with a pinky out, enjoying his tea.
No, it's always nice, isn't it? A little gift from a present for Christmas last year from my oldest son.
Was it?
It's really, really very nice, yeah. Of course, it's very civilised, Jim.
It's great.
Good to hear you enjoyed it too.
Oh, it was lovely. Absolutely lovely. I've changed. So, Arsenal go to Manchester United yesterday. We're going to kick off with this, Martin. You must have an extra spring in your step. Arsenal invincible, Martin Keown, that your boys won it.
Yeah, great result. Obviously not the best of performances from Arsenal. Super Mendy in that midfield, left on his own quite a lot. Declan Rice, that relationship, not quite marrying in the way that Arsenal wanted. But all credit to Manchester United. I know that, fans will look at it and say it's just another defeat. But actually, I think they made a lot of progress in the way they played. Very clever. The way they picked up the message from the manager, the wing-backs pushing higher up the pitch, 2 midfield players close to the back 3. They weren't in any kind of a rush. It was a good platform to build their attacks from.
Yeah.
Manchester United look a whole lot more convincing. Cunha, Mbeumo stretching Arsenal's defence. It was a bit rocky at times, but, Arsenal showed some character, Jim, and we'd kind of, over the last few years, thought, what happened to lucky Arsenal, but there was an element of luck. I don't think they were, I don't think they've been unlucky in the past, but certainly yesterday there was a bit of luck there, and that's what you need.
Maybe luck was on their side. Simon can't answer this, nor could I if I was asked. How easy is it to be instantly match sharp on day one?
A good point. I think now we're very demanding in the public. We're all scrutinised. We're even looking at the analysts.
Yeah.
People talking about match of the day and how did it shape up. So we're all kind of under that pressure. I think pre-season, I never felt the first game of the season I could be 100%. You can't be. You can't possibly be.
Are you anywhere near it?
You're close, Jim. You're close, but you're maybe about 80%, 90%. And your touch maybe not quite what it was. There's a lot of teams over the weekend giving the ball away. It's almost precision. It's become precision. But this weekend, it looked like they were kind of human. So that's what we'll see it improve. But I thought Liverpool, again, sort of stamped their authority at the weekend, came back, didn't they? 2 changes to their back 4 and a couple at the top of the team. So they're sort of trying to find a rhythm. Man City, goodness, Reina, his performance was absolutely outstanding, Jim. The skill set that he's demonstrating from match 1, left foot, right foot, way to pass, pace, energy, running off the ball.
Yeah.
Man City suddenly back in the equation. So I think it's going to be a quite amazing Premier League.
Well, they look good. You say Arsenal had luck in their side, but nonetheless, they left Manchester with all 3 points yesterday. This was Arteta post-match.
Well, that gives you certainly momentum and confidence, 2 very important things. Because you know that when you're not at your standards in certain aspects, which today we weren't, being fair, we can still come away and find a way to win the game. And the team has to find that resilience throughout the season for 10 months in different contexts to be able to do that. Of course, we have to improve a lot of things, and that will happen very soon. But in terms of managing to get that into a very positive result, that's a great way to do it.
So, Simon, it's so early, I know, but is there any evidence, do you think, to suggest that this is an Arsenal outfit that has the qualities to go one step further this time around?
You've said it for yourself. I think the interesting thing about the observation you just made about players, first of all, if all teams start a little bit off, then it levels everybody out, so you can still see outcomes from players that aren't fully at 100% because neither is the opposition. We are seeing teams buy what people perceive to be the finished product, which is why the judgment is instantaneous. When you're buying potential, then you price it into your thinking that actually it'll take them a bit of time to acclimatise to the environment, to acclimatise to the team. When you're buying so-called finished products, then that latitude should drop away. The 2 teams on the match reports did tell a certain level of outcome or expectation. This is a Man United side that's been miles off. And Arsenal went and did a job on them. They didn't play their best version of themselves, but they didn't need to. And the fact that we're talking about certain outcomes from Man United and certain things that are slightly better is a sad reflection. I was listening to Roy Keane talk about it yesterday, about people's expectation of what Man United have now become. I know you've got to rebuild. And if you've got to rebuild, then you've got to rebuild. But accepting lower standards as a methodology for absolutely feeling that the future is going to be better.
Yeah.
I don't mean lower standards in terms of approach. I mean less of a bad outcome. This is the same Man United team that knocked Arsenal out of the Cup last year in one of the Cup competitions, and everyone felt that was a turning point. You cannot judge this Man United side against one game against Arsenal, which on paper has two of the iconic names in English football playing. One side is a team that's been built and curated and crafted into a formidable outfit that's finished second in the table for the last 3 seasons. Another side is a pseudo car crash that's trying to rebuild itself back from the position that it established last season with a manager who spent a lot of time talking gibberish last year and now has an opportunity to move past the nonsense of I didn't want to be here. You've now had your pre-season. You now have a base of players coming in that you want to be in your environment.
Sure.
We now need to see something better. And if losing a game at home in a better way is a version of Man United improving, I think that's a bit sad for United.
I'm with Simon on that. It's too early to start saying, is it not, man? Oh, there are signs for optimism here with Manchester United. I heard Jeff and Ali on about it this morning. It's day one. And as Simon says, 2 words, United were a car crash last season.
Yeah, but I think it's hard for the likes of Roy Keane and people to, to listen to that when... it's almost disdainful to hear, okay, you've lost 1-0, well done, because they've achieved great things, but there are stepping stones. And I actually thought to myself that Amorim didn't. It was almost like it was clueless last year. It was actually yesterday I could actually see the wing backs, for instance, they were wandering forward, given time to do so by the fact that the back three kept the ball in a patient manner. They could go into midfield with 2 that sat instead of 1. Yeah. So I had a pass that was available. They could go into the front.
So are you seeing a bit of an Amorim stamp even this early? I
actually thought tactically he created a really big problem for Arsenal. Arsenal's mid three couldn't cope. So Supermendy was sitting there on his own in the pockets either side. Mount probably had his best game I've seen him in a Manchester United shirt yesterday. So there's a crumb of comfort in that. But where the manager kind of fell down a little bit was he's talking about entertaining. It's not, no, it's about getting the results. And he gets caught up in things. It's like you're on this road for success. Forget what the media is saying. You're building. It shouldn't matter about entertaining. You want to, they'll be entertained when they
say
win.
Everything to everyone, isn't he?
That's right. So he's got to find that right pathway.
You're nodding in agreement with Mark.
Well, he's trying to. He would
not be entertaining. Get results.
Got to get results. But I think for United playing Arsenal in the first game of the season, an Arsenal side that feels in people's mind has bought a centre forward now, so is going to be at the top of the league. Is almost a get a gel card. If you lose and you lose well, then you've lost to a side that's in good nick and that everyone knows that you're rebuilding. I'd stick a lesser side against Man United in the first game of the season and see what Man United would have been like in that game.
But Cunha's running with the ball, though, was a real standout.
He's a good player.
But he was allowed to do that because of the pockets that were either side of Supermendy.
Yeah.
Now, I expect other teams to go to Old Trafford. We've wanted Arsenal to open up a little bit more, be a bit more expansive. They tried to do that yesterday, and I think they had 22 shots at their goal, which is far too many. So Arsenal know the work they need to do. But they did open up, Jim, and this new sign in Gyökeres, he is making willing runs into channels.
Right.
But the connections weren't there. The Arsenal weren't making... I mean, at half-time, I thought the interview process, just talking about the media, I mean, dragging in Ødegaard into talk, but he told us everything about what Arsenal weren't doing. So you get an idea, you get a taste of the intelligence of that player.
Yeah, let's look at Amorim specifically and let's hear from him because, as I say, now he's got it the way he wanted it. It's his team and is it his time? This was him post-match.
I think we proved today that we can win any game in the Premier League, especially against a great team like Arsenal, and we were the better team. So I'm happy with the players.
My question, are you happy with the 3 goalkeepers?
I'm happy with the 3 goalkeepers.
Richard, I just have a question about...
You'd a snigger at that, Simon.
It makes no sense. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. But to say that we've proved that we can win against any team in the opposition, yet you've lost, it makes no sense. It just simply is it's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms. It makes no sense. You've just lost the game. Now, I don't know whether he's going to come through. I think he needs to be given a lot of latitude, this manager, because I think he's still flailing through his ability to communicate to his players, to the media per se, to the messaging he wants to impart, to the manner in which he wants to operate.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to give him a lot of time and a lot of latitude. And I'm not suggesting they should or they shouldn't. I don't think people should be waiting for 6 games and United don't win many of them and start shouting for Amorim's head. I think they're going to have to give him a lot of latitude because to me, he doesn't convince me, and it's not me wanting to be on the first game of the season going, whoa, hang on a second, and start calling for his head. I don't feel that way about him. but he has created a body of work since he's walked through the door that doesn't give you any confidence. If someone shows you what they are, there's a possibility you should believe them. And we've seen what he is for the last 6 or 7 months, and now we need to see something different. And I'm not really hearing much more difference.
Well, agree.
I tell you what, Martin, we'll discuss this further after this first break, but we want to introduce you to the show even this early, because Arsenal fans, this applies to you. Is there early evidence to suggest that this is an Arsenal outfit that has the qualities to go one step further this season? Are you going to get your hands on this title? Do you feel good about it? Having gone to Old Trafford, maybe, as Martin rightly says, with a bit of luck on your side, you're left with all 3 points. 03717 223344. And on Manchester United, even this early, are we seeing the Amorim impact? Can you honestly tell me that you have seen that? 03717 223344. Monday morning, Monday, August the 17th, it's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Monday morning, good morning everybody. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown. We are live on talkSPORT. We've got a 20 past 10 and we're all still pals in here. How about that? How about that? That's good. That's good. Hearing that Tottenham defender Jed Spence is signing a new long-term contract with the football club. Tottenham, of course, got off to a flying start. At the moment, we've pitched our tents on the lawns of Arsenal and Manchester United. Arsenal left Old Trafford yesterday with all 3 points. But is it Amorim's time now? Are we beginning to see the early signs of the Amorim impact? And what about Arsenal? Is this an Arsenal output that has the qualities this season to go one step further than it's done of late and win the damn thing? There is a message from No. Arsenal are like watching Stoke City. Time wasting, only creating chances through set pieces. No chance of winning the league, in my opinion. Gyökeres miles off it. Quite embarrassing at times. Well, it's day one for the boy, is it not? There's another message coming in from Aaron from Colchester. Morning, guys. As a Manchester United fan, yeah, enjoyable despite the result, and there are positives in the game. Cunha, Mbuemo, Mount, as Martin says, De Ligt, they were all brilliant. You bet there are signs that improvement is just around the corner. We shall see. Stephen's a big Manchester United fan. You need to improve, Stephen, and you've got to hit the ground running, have you not? Have you seen any early signs to give you optimism?
Saw loads of positives yesterday from the game. Morning, fellas.
Morning.
Nice to see
Morning,
you all
Stephen.
again. Martin, where have you been for the past few weeks? Have you only come back because you won yesterday?
So, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I was actually enjoying a holiday. I've been campaigning, haven't I, for the players to get 3 or 4 weeks off. So I thought I'd take that time off myself.
Quite right.
Great, nice to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, yesterday I thought we played really, really well. I don't think Arsenal played well at all yesterday. I think they can get better, but I think we performed really, really well yesterday. Even though we lost, I thought the new players that he brought in, looked brilliant. But we knew they would be anyway because we've seen them in the Premier League before. So I'm really confident. I hope it's not a flash in the pan again because we've been here before last season where we thought we were going to turn the corner and we didn't.
Yeah.
But yesterday I thought it was an amazing performance, but we do really need to sort the goalkeeping situation out because I don't think, personally, I'd put Heaton in goal. I think he's the best of the 3 goalkeepers, personally.
I mean, what does that tell you? How crazy is that, Stephen?
Yeah, he's our third choice goalkeeper for sure.
Wow.
But,
Stephen, thanks for the call. I mean, Martin, Simon, the goalkeeping situation is a bit crazy, is it not? I heard Patrick Davis in the Sky, quite rightly, trying to get some kind of an answer out of Amorim about Onana, about Bayindir and about Heaton. And where are you going with it all?
Well, he obviously feels that he can get a tune out of the goalkeepers, but you saw how problematic that was yesterday when you got a goalkeeper that doesn't really come and claim. You know, you've got to be there. You've got to be a bully in that situation. You can't be bullied. You know, we know Arsenal do exceptionally well on set pieces. Very first corner of the season, you've got to be really aggressive there, stand up and get to that ball. You've got to get something on it. And that was poor, Jim. So I thought his distribution wasn't too bad out from the back. You know, I couldn't work out, was he just lucky with his distribution or was he actually very, very good in that area? So, but they gave him much more options in possession, building out from the back. But it is a problem for them, Jim. But they've only got so much amount of money, haven't they? And they probably felt they needed to do it in a creative manner rather than the keeper. But if he's going to keep making those sorts of mistakes, you've got to replace.
Only so,
they've been
acknowledging that.
But
they've been here before, haven't they? I mean, there was a beginning of David De Gea's career when everyone was saying the same thing about him.
Yeah,
which is you've got to sort the goalkeeping situation out. I don't think they did bad with him, did they? In the end, so we have this propensity, as Martin was talking about at the beginning of the show, to instantaneously determine whether someone's good enough or not good enough. And David De Gea, for about a year, 18 months, was being pillared by the press as someone that can't catch crosses, should put garlic around his neck because he was so frightened of them. And as a result of it, the bottom line is that he became a goalkeeper that was a mainstay for them for a period of time. I think that, United conceded a goal that a goalkeeper perhaps could have avoided. That doesn't stop the rest of the team going and get a goal at the other end of the pitch and get him out of the cart, does it?
Exactly right. Tom's another United fan who's been waiting patiently. Tom, good morning to you. Early signs of optimism? I mean, it's very early, Tom, isn't it?
Morning, Jim. Morning, Simon. Morning, Martin.
Good morning.
I'm starting to hate my own fan base, honestly. It's just shocking, really. I think we've been here before. It's a full storm. We've been here before. We always turn up against the big teams. I'm not surprised by the performance yesterday. Yes, Cunha did well. Yes, and Buemo did well. But we turn up against them every time. We beat Liverpool last year. We knocked Arsenal out of the cup last year. We beat City twice last year. So I can't understand why this whole... I think Keane was spot on yesterday. Again, our standards are so low that, a few runs, a few different things that these exciting players do, and suddenly we jump on the bandwagon as if United are back. We're not back. We are United. We'll do it again. We'll lose against Bournemouth. We'll lose against, all the lesser teams, and then we're back to square one again.
Will you lose against Fulham next Sunday?
Of course we will. We always do this. We turn up against the bigger teams, and then we'll go to Fulham, we'll lose, and then it'll be... Amorim's building, let's give him time. And I don't think he's got a clue what he's doing, honestly.
Tom, wow, okay.
I think that's a bit unfair. I mean, we saw 22 shots yesterday, 60% possession, Jim. It was a whole lot better. It might sound patronising.
United could only manage 4 home wins in the Premier League after appointing Amorim last season.
Yeah, we're looking at the stats now.
Yesterday they lose.
43 games, 17 wins, 18 defeats. It is a little bit embarrassing, but I have to say yesterday was the first step in the right direction in terms of what... They lost again.
But it couldn't get any worse.
A lot of what I said, that caller represented, I don't think that some of it would go to the extremes. I'm not necessarily sure it's nailed on that they're going to lose to Fulham next week, but those are the sort of games. If you play Fulham first game of the season, then you get less latitude. If Man United had come out of this game and nicked a draw, I'd be sitting there saying... Actually, something slightly different about this United side.
Yeah.
But they've as the caller has said, they play well against better opposition.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, aha, here we go again. There's a better opportunity for ourselves. Yet the outcome is they lose another game.
What about Arsenal? Any signs that they will go all the way this season and go one step further than they've done and win it? Saf is a big Arsenal fan. Let's have you, Saf, before we hit the break. Good morning. What do you want to say in this?
Yeah, morning, everyone. Not a great show, by the way.
Thank you, Saf. Thank you. Go for it. So you're going to win it.
Well, the reason we won yesterday's game is because of our squad depth and our physicality. So well done, Andrea Berta, for the transfer window. I think he's done a great transfer window for Arsenal. We just need to get rid of some of our lesser players. But I think our squad depth, compared to Manchester United squad depth, is 20 levels above, if I'm honest.
20 levels above?
That's right, and it's just recruitment's, our good recruitment in this summer and previous summers. We're just acquiring the better players because we have European football, you see, and it attracts better players, and hence it equals better recruitment.
Okay, Saf, thank you for that. I mean, Martin, do you feel, without tempting fate, do you feel that the ingredients in the Arsenal pot, the first team squad, suggest to you, they'll knock on the door this time?
I do. I feel now, and I've never really tipped Arsenal to win the league, and it doesn't really matter if I do or not. They've got to go and do it. But I'm now feeling, Jim, that they are as close to winning it as they possibly ever can be, because of what they've added to the squad. It's never going to be perfect, but when you saw the manager having options at the end of the game there, to see Havertz, another centre-forward coming off the bench, not a makeshift midfield player having to go up front, and I thought Havertz looking sharper, the 2 fullbacks that came on as well. You do have to argue that Lewis Skelly's Timber, they might be first choices, but they came off the bench, Jim. And that strength in depth is really good to see. It's hard for the opposition to deal with. So, he's putting the pieces together. They've just got to go and do it. But they can, we've looked at the fixture lists and it's like, I don't care what the fixture list says. You've got to believe you can go and win it. If you think it's against you, no, Arsenal, no complaining. Discipline has to be outstanding this year. Last year, do you remember those first few games? They lost their discipline, they had players sent off. There can be no excuses this time. You've got to go and do it. And
actually, you guys did. Don't lose a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You look back, during the off-season and 2002, we had 12 players sent off. And in the end, the boss was like, we need to, this imaginary line, we're going below it too often.
Yeah.
Like we almost did win it with 10 players. But I don't believe in this day and age you can do that. So this, everything's got to be working. But when you look around you, Jim, the other teams as well this weekend, I thought Man City have really made a big statement.
So much to get into this Monday morning with Simon and Martin, and we'll do just that. Already, I hear the switchboard is under siege. And that's how we like it. 03717 223344. Keep the calls coming. We're here for you this morning, as we are every morning, between 10 and 1, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Some are pretty straightforward. Arsenal are the Gunners because they were founded by a group of munitions workers, and Bournemouth are the Cherries because their old stadium was built right next to a cherry orchard. Then there's Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were 2 local toffee shops. Ipswich Town nicked their nickname off their opponents in the late 90s, Birmingham. The term Tractor Boys was chanted as a way to tease the team about their farming background, but they started using it themselves as a way to cheer on the team in victory instead. Take that, Birmingham. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire's also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Crystal Palace's nickname came from an extreme makeover. They were having a nightmare run in the 70s, and when they were relegated, their manager, Malcolm Allison, wasn't having it. I know what'll make us better, he thought, a new nickname. The Strong and Deadly Eagle sounded like a pretty good bet. And there's more to that story. Brighton used Palace's nickname to inspire their own. Ooh, a bird, they thought. Let's just pick a different one for us. And so, in a heated match between the two teams back in 1976, when Palace fans began chanting "Eagles, Eagles," Brighton fans had the perfect reply: "Seagulls, Seagulls." So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
The Premier League is back Monday morning and we love it. Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT and we're streaming live on YouTube and your smart TV. For all the information on how to watch the show, just head to talksport.com/watch. What can you learn after weekend one? West Ham don't have their problems to seek. Yep, that is for sure. Karen Brady, director, of course, was in this very building yesterday. Well, have a listen to what she said while she was in here. Sunderland did a job in them. Sunderland looking good, and they've spent pots of money in this window, and it might not be finished yet. But at the moment, right now, we're looking at Arsenal and Manchester United. We're looking at Manchester United and Arsenal. We shall move on in this section, but at the moment, because of the volume of calls that are coming in, we're going to stick with United and with Arsenal, specifically with Manchester United at the moment, because so many of you want to come to air with Simon here and, of course, with Arsenal Invincible and Martin Keown. Now with a full pre-season under their belt is now an identifiable Amorim stamp on this Manchester United side, even though United on day one ended up losing at home again. Tom is a big Manchester United fan. Tom, good morning. What do you want to say?
Morning, fellas. I just want to say I watched the game yesterday, and although there are positives, you know, it's the first game of the season. They're going up the team that for the last 3 years have been knocking on the door, finishing second. That's arguably their best period of football in recent history. United are on the other end of that, where they're among their darkest days. They have been for many years, but they've still won more in that period throughout the managers than Arsenal have under Arteta has been in the door. The performance yesterday with the new additions, obviously it was better, but people questioning Amorim, I don't really understand it. He needs a few more transfer windows. Arteta has had 10 odd windows and still not quite got it right. If we manage to sack Amorim, what's to say that the next manager that comes in doesn't like the players that he's brought in, and then we're struggling, as we have done, trying to get rid of Sancho, trying to get rid of Casemiro last season.
Right. So you're comfortable, Tom, that Amorim should be given many more transfer windows to show what he can do?
Well, I think if you're going to try and achieve any basic level of success, you need to be given trust and given time, because it's not going to change overnight. United are obviously in a very dark period, have been for many years.
Okay, so Tom, listen, thanks for that. Thank you, Tom. We'll move on to David, who's another big United fan. So many United fans coming on this morning. David, where do you stand at the moment on what might or might not happen for United under Amorim this season?
Good morning, gentlemen, first.
Morning.
Nice to be on the show.
You're welcome.
Honest, the previous caller actually took a couple of my points that I wanted to put across regarding basically that Arsenal have been knocking on the door for the last few seasons. They're obviously in a better along the journey in a better place than Man United. United have been on this big decline now for 10 years. So if we put some context onto the performance yesterday, the caller previous to that was a bit doom and gloom for me. Oh, we're going to go and lose to Fulham. Oh, we've seen this before. We've played against the big teams really well. And that is a true point. But the thing is, if you look at the job Amorim has to do, it's a bigger job. It's a bigger turnaround job from the brink of death than anything we've seen in the league for a long, long time. So last year, Martin, I came on the show. We had the talk last year because you kept saying we can't play this formation. This formation's no good. They can't adapt. It doesn't work in the Premier League, etc., etc. Well, give him a couple more windows, right? We can already see where he's strengthened up because we had a massive problem scoring goals. We've now got 3 guys in there that can work together, and clearly based on some of the evidence yesterday, they're hungry. These boys want to run. They want to show what they can do, and they want to try and help this team. Now, where we've got problems is at the back. It's clear that we still need maybe a centre-back. We still need a right wing-back, a proper right wing-back, where we can't just keep Dalot and then swap him for Diallo. Diallo's an attacking player. His mindset isn't to come back and defend as good as he tries. And it's clear to me we need an out-and-out striker. I know we've got Šeško. It's still early days for him, but we still need a backup for him, even if he does well.
Okay, David, do you agree with that, Martin? They still need an out-and-out striker.
Well, look, let's just say, having a look at what he was saying there, they were 15th in the table last year. So, suddenly overnight, it looked like, yes, that their roles and responsibilities, the players suddenly looked like they understood that. But we're still waiting, Jim, aren't we? We're still waiting for wins. And we're looking at all these defeats, 18 defeats, 17 wins. So this manager has to find a winning way to play football. Where he was kind of like in a straitjacket last season, where he just wanted to play one way, that Postecoglou at Spurs, that kind of cost him his job eventually. We're going to have to see now if Amorim can adapt. But I thought there was a glimmer of hope yesterday in the way that the players were understanding their roles in the team.
A glimmer of hope, no more than that. A glimmer of hope,
well,
David,
while they're losing games, that's the only way it can be.
Do you accept that is indeed what it is? There is a glimmer of hope, David?
Well, there is a glimmer of hope, but I think that there's more to it than that. I don't think that Amorim is a stupid man. I don't think that he's came over here. Yes, I think maybe the job is slightly bigger than what he initially thought, but he didn't come here thinking he's going to have an easy ride, guys. He knew the size of this club. He knew the problems we have. He knew, that it's not going to be easy, and it turns out that it's a bigger job than what even he thought it is, which we all knew. So he's going to get it right. Like, you can see that he's got a clear idea. He's set in his ways. He calls the players out, which is what is really refreshing. That apart from Mourinho and maybe Rangnick, who actually called out the culture of the club and the way that everything operates, the honesty and the brutality is brilliant. That is what we need. Okay. The players.
That's optimism, Simon, isn't it? David, listen, thanks for that. A whole bunch of optimism coming out of that call.
Yeah, and it's important to be so. The only thing you can say is his job wasn't to come in and compound the problems. His job was to exacerbate them, or more to the point, to relieve some of those problems, not to make them worse. So I don't think you can turn around and say, no one said he's stupid. Because you're critical of someone doesn't mean you're saying that they're stupid. But if you've come in to make something better, and for the 9 months that you've been here, you've actually made it worse, people are going to criticise. They're going to say, well, what am I looking at?
Yeah. There's Tom, who's a Liverpool fan. Is this the Manchester United show? No, it's not. Let's move on to that. Simon, Liverpool's title defence, will it be built on goals? You get 1, we'll get 2.
No, I think they're far more structured than that. Liverpool defensively are looking at obviously additions. Virgil van Dijk's contract last year was all the big discussion. He's now signed. There's a possibility they're going to sign the boy from Palace, Guerhi, which will give them options defensively. They're an attacking side. Bournemouth are a good side. Bournemouth have gone for a transition themselves. They've had some of their best players plucked out from them. Don't underestimate how good Bournemouth are. What you got was a good game of football between two sides that were prepared to attack. On the first game of the season, on the opening fixture of the season, on a Friday night,
Looks like Liverpool might give you chances, though, in a game.
Yeah, they may do. At this stage in the season, they might do.
It's a new back four, though, isn't it?
But it's a new unit, and if they bring in Gehi, I think they'll give people less chances.
Do you know, it's interesting looking at players, Konate, for instance, everybody like giving him a lot of stick. And I think he's just, like that sort of bigger player that takes a little bit longer to get fit, Jim. And I was hearing behind the scenes that under Klopp, this guy wasn't playing enough games. So they decided to not involve him sort of until Tuesday, Wednesday of the week, because some players need a bigger recovery and they got more games out of him. And he just looked a little bit shy of the fitness that we know is there.
Yeah.
It just takes a bit of time, and I expect them to be really compact. But they've got 2 new fullbacks, so we shouldn't be that critical. But they were very open, Liverpool. And the atmosphere there, obviously in memory of Jota and the way that the players, I think it gave them even more of a level of emotion, Jim. It was just unbelievable, the atmosphere in that game.
We're speaking to people going into this season. So many people have said to me, don't rule out Chelsea. Chelsea will be there or thereabouts. The club world champions, they'll be there or thereabouts. Yesterday, they drew a blank at home to Crystal Palace. Nonetheless, do you remember the optimism? Do you remember the mood of co-owner Todd Bowley when he spoke exclusively to this show after they'd won the Club World Cup?
I think the boys have shown that they are a force to be reckoned with, and we knew all along in the value of the project. But we're hopeful that every day we wake up, the odds are that, Chelsea is going to win something big.
Are they in it, Simon? Will they be in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they will be in the mix, yeah. I don't think they'll win the league, no, but I think they'll be in the mix. To judge them against a very accomplished Crystal Palace side that are very, very difficult to play against, that have proven that in recent times by the results they've gotten against Liverpool in the Charity Shield, make of it what you want, Charity Shield, Liverpool wouldn't have wanted to have lost that game, against Manchester City in an FA Cup final. And if you look at their last results prior to that, Palace are in very, very good nick. They're a very organised, well-managed football team that when they've got their best players on the pitch, are not easy to play against. And I think you have to put a lot of that performance down to the way Palace stopped Chelsea, rather than what Chelsea did and didn't do. And 0-0 at home to Crystal Palace is no worse than 1-1 in the Community Shield to Liverpool, who are the incumbent champions.
They'd have been the one team I wouldn't have wanted to play opening week of the season, Palace, because they've had that Community Shield game. They're tough, they're streetwise, and they've still got those 2 players which are sort of hanging over them, Gehi, Eze. Are they going to be there or not? And I think that's just simmering in the background. Surely one of them will leave, which is a real shame for Palace, because they am now, I mean, Matete, we were talking off air about what a job he does for them. He scraps, chases for everything, and they just were too tough, really, for Chelsea to crack. But there's no disgrace in not winning a game against Palace, because they're a decent outfit right now.
We're going to talk the role of the captain with Martin Keown very shortly. After this break, though, we'll look at Sunderland, the new boys. Are they going to buck the trend this season and stay up and look good? Seems they just might after that start. Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, live in talkSPORT. Loving you guys this Monday morning, says Terry. Terry, thank you very much indeed. A lot to get through between now and 1 o'clock. Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown in our midst. With that in mind, and Martin, I'm not prodding you early with a stick, but on Arteta and Arsenal, interesting quote coming out of Jason Burt in the Telegraph over the weekend. If Arteta doesn't win silverware, what's the point of the Spaniard carrying on as Arsenal manager? Some managers are builders, others are finishers. Arteta may prove to be the former, and it might take his successor to get Arsenal over the line. Now, he backs that up, to be fair to Burt. So he says, since Arteta won the FA Cup in August 2020, City have won 4 Premier League titles, the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Club World Cup, the UEFA Super Cup. Liverpool have won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and 2 League Cups. He doesn't stop there. Chelsea have won the Champions League, 2 Club World Cups and the UEFA Super Cup. Even the basket case of Manchester United have won the FA Cup and the League Cup. And Tottenham Hotspur have the Europa League. There's a point in all of that, is there not, Martin? It's about time that Arteta and Arsenal
of course
deliver.
Yeah, this is the season. Even the manager now is... Look, I know it's an obvious thing. They have to win a trophy, Jim, this season. I don't know what the consequence of that will be if he doesn't, but they have to win some sort of trophy. I do feel that there has been progress, Jim. 2 involvements in the Champions League, gets to the semi-finals last year, so we know that's good progress. But no trophies. And you're seeing, Newcastle, Palace winning trophies for the first time in many years. Arsenal need to do the same. They still need to retain that challenge in the Premier League. They're in the mix. They're definitely going to challenge this season, but the Arsenal fans will cry out for a trophy. I don't think we've reached the stage yet of the Arsene Wenger years where I felt like he was almost like an individual stood at a fruit machine, knew it was going to pay out and wouldn't remove himself from the machine until it did, because eventually he didn't actually win a trophy. I don't think we've reached that stage. He's still progressing. Large parts of last season, Jim, I think without a striker, we don't want any excuses anymore now. I think
that's it.
He just needs to be positive. You got lucky a little bit yesterday, but that's good. You need luck if you're going to be champions.
And as Martin said,
one step at a time.
The fans expect, Simon. What about the boardroom? Well, is it as binary? If you don't win something, you're gone.
Well, this is the question that needs to be asked, rather than the ramblings of a journalist that's writing about other people's experiences. This is the idea of what is the metric that you're judging somebody by. Is the only metric that Arteta is going to be judged by winning maybe a League Cup or an FA Cup, or going deep into a European competition? I think that they're all in with Arteta. I think there's been massive progress under him in the last 4 or 5 years. There are things about some of the things he says that I don't necessarily like and it irritates me, but I could say that about most of the managers because they're all little islands in their own right and they think that they're far more important than they actually are. But the fact of the matter is that I think there's a lot to be said for Arteta. I think he does need to win something because it will dissuade the underlying narrative that gets built up, that then gets seeded in people's minds, and then people start to react to it. If you look at this Arsenal side that he has now built, which is a very good side, not far away, finishing second in the league, qualifying for Europe, achieving financial outcomes, being backed by his board, getting better and better most seasons. Last season, I think, was a bit of a flat line, and the get it out of jail card was getting into the Champions League semi-final because it negated the fact that they weren't as competitive in the league as they were in previous years.
Right.
I don't think he needs to win something. I think they should want to win something. And by that, I mean that a League Cup or an FA Cup is not beyond the Arsenals of the world. But if you're going to judge them by Palace winning an FA Cup or someone else winning a League Cup, I think that's a poor judgment.
You don't think his job's in the line if they don't win something?
Well, I think the answers to the questions are how many. I don't think he's an excuse merchant, quite frankly. I think he says certain things at certain times to get a reaction. But the fact is now people have said, well, when you've got that centre forward, that's a panacea for all your ails. It's not. It provides another set of questions to be asked and answered, which is how they're going to play with a centre forward that is more of a go-to player than they've had for some time.
Yeah.
And that needs a period of adjustment. But if he finishes second in the league this year and Arsenal are really strong and the opposition is so much stronger, then I don't think it's a case of get him out the door and replace him with whom to do what and to change the direction of travel in what way.
Yeah, I think, Jim, this summer would have been a very difficult one in terms of when you come second 3 years in succession, having been in that position, it does take us a very special group of people to still believe in the project and still get out and win something. So he'd been working with their minds and like, okay, guys, we can believe this. Now we're equipped now to win this. And we need to say it publicly.
Yeah.
If you think back to some of those Wenger teams talking about going unbeaten for a whole season, people, they matched it. They said it, they matched it, they went and did it. That's what they need to do now. Okay, quietly, because we know we've got... The opposition has never been better, has it, in the shape of
Well,
Liverpool,
this is it. And let's put this specifically to you, Martin. I think in your time at Arsenal, you had two captains, Tony Adams and Patrick Vieira. Now, the same Tony Adams, and I know you have the utmost respect for Tony, of course you would, he was speaking to the Irish Independent at a pre-season Q&A over in Ireland last week. And basically it boiled down to this with Adams. Who should be captain at Arsenal? Should it be, as it is, Odegaard, or should it be Declan?
He's got a really big call to make this year. And for me, he hasn't done it. And the call is to make Declan Rice the captain. So I think Declan is my kind of captain. And what it might do, it might free Odegaard up to play with a bit more freedom. As a manager, you have to put someone that reflects you, that reflects the football club, that you think you can actually take it to the next level.
Does he reflect Arteta?
Odegaard
Does Declan Rice
for me.
reflect Arteta?
I think he's better than Arteta. I think he's a winner. You know, he's got standards, he's got principles. So going on and winning leagues, to win league titles, you have to be a Klopp, you have to be a Ferguson, you have to lead by example, you have to be a winner, you have to go about your business, and that reflects in your captain. And by making Odegaard a captain, is a reflection of Odegaard and of Arteta, and I can really see that. And I'm seeing Declan Rice as a captain, but I'm saying to Arteta, come on, step up now. It's your time to be a winning manager and a fantastic manager, because you're not going to win the league with Odegaard as captain.
Is he right, Martin?
Strong opinion. Tony puts a lot of emphasis on the captain. And of course, I admired working under him, outstanding captain. But really, what you want is 11 captains on the pitch, and you want everybody else to captain.
But you can only have one.
Yes, but
you
need
to get the right one.
I believe he has for the situation he finds himself. I don't think Tony reflected Arsene Wenger. I think he might have reflected George Graham, but it's a different type. You know, Patrick Vieira was a totally different type of captain. You know, he was a doer. Tony would have people in the dressing room who would do some of the talking for him. Maybe I was one of those as well. So I think it's about bringing the best out of everybody in the group. And I think Odegaard is, if you think about the way that he was in a very difficult Real Madrid dressing room and now he runs that dressing room, his comments at halftime said it all. He didn't need the manager telling him how they needed to control the game. He needed to be better yesterday. But, look, Tony was a strong leader and he feels that, look, Declan, let's encourage Declan to be a leader. But the captaincy, it's just an armband for me. I didn't take any notice of that. I'm going to go out there and lead whatever happened. And I think that's what you need if you want to be successful.
Do you want to do this for us? Monday, 17th of August. Do Arsenal win it, the Premier League title?
Well, I'm backing them this year for the first time in a long, long time. The last 3-4 years, I've not done so. And this year I am.
Fair enough. Good answer, Martin Keown. They all are. and it is Monday, August the 17th, and we've a lot to get on with. So let's get on with it. Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan and Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown. We're live in talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco, where the trade goes.
There's a lot of talk about the independent football regulator. Some people love the sound of it, others don't. But what actually is it? And is it going to be any good for the game? In simple terms, it'll be an organisation not controlled by the Premier League, the EFL or the government, which will make sure all clubs are financially stable and don't rip off the fans. The aim is to make sure what happened to Bury, Derby and Reading doesn't happen again. Now, a significant reason clubs go under is because of dodgy owners financially mismanaging the club and running it into the ground. But in theory, these should be a thing of the past with the new regulator. They'll be able to use data from the National Crime Agency to perform stronger fit and proper persons tests and can even force owners to give up their stake in a club, which for certain supporters might be a welcome relief. It's likely good news for the EFL. The tension between them and the Premier League over a fair financial deal has been increasing in recent years. As it stands, talks have broken down. The Premier League backed out of recent negotiations, but the regulator will have the power to force through a deal, meaning more money for clubs lower down the pyramid. Now, this might sound simple, but in reality there's concerns this will open a legal can of worms, which could result in messy court cases involving the Premier League and the regulator. Parachute payments will be brought under the control of the regulator too. If they reduce them, it could mean a wider variety of clubs securing promotion to the top flight, but critics reckon it'll just mean the gap between the Premier League and EFL actually widens, as promoted clubs won't get as much money, which should normally be used to buy better players so they can compete. And current Premier League clubs have said if there were no parachute payments, they'd actually invest less, which would harm the quality of the top flight. And if clubs don't invest, then you'll get exactly what the EFL don't want, which is the same three clubs going down every year. And remember when Cardiff's owners changed the club's colours and badge? Well, in future, fans will have to approve any major changes to their club's heritage. Now, that might all sound great, but do we really need it? Some say the downfall of Reading and Bury is an exception, not the rule. So as a whole, the most successful footballing pyramid in world football doesn't need regulation. They say it scares investors who can help grow the game. If those investors go elsewhere, well, the Premier League may no longer be the destination for the best players in the world. And others, well, they just don't trust politicians to appoint truly independent people to regulate our game.
3 minutes past 11 o'clock on this Monday morning, Monday, August 17. It's Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. Something tells me it's going to be a busy, busy week. A lot of football, a lot of outcomes, and we're right across the lot right here on talkSPORT. Nottingham Forest have moved to sign another player, on this occasion, a player from Rennes. Alex Crook will stop by and bring us right up to date with who's going where and why. Any movement on Isak appears not. Newcastle fans made their voice and their opinion very much heard over the weekend when they went to Villa Park and came away with a point. A lot to get through, not least West Ham fans not happy from day one. Thoroughly not happy after going up to the northeast, taking on Sunderland and being stunned by a Sunderland side that seems to be very much in the mood to show what they can do, even though they're the new boys, what they can do in the Premier League. Are Sunderland going to be the surprise package this season? After 8 years away from the top flight, they got off to a flyer and they beat West Ham by 3-0. And it comes amidst the backdrop, of course, for the past 2 seasons of the 3 going up from the Championship have gone straight back down. But are Sunderland going to buck that trend? Simon, in the passing, might they? And are you surprised that they've spent over 100 million so far this summer on 12 new signings, which includes the likes of Granit Xhaka, although the 3 goal scorers at the weekend were lads who were there anyway?
Yes and no. I mean, they sold Joe Bellingham, didn't they, for 30-40 million quid. So it gave them a head start. So spending £60 million net.
Tom Watson as well.
Gives them some head start. If you're going to play a West Ham team that was abject as that, every week, then Sunderland have got a bloody good chance of staying in the Premier League. It'll get more difficult as it goes along. It's a wonderful occasion. The atmosphere inside the stadium was phenomenal. You saw it just leaping out of the television screen. So on a bright, sunny afternoon against an abject Premier League side that only really turned up through Jarrod Bowen on occasions during the course of the game, it'll get much more difficult. But to get your first win, get it early and get points on the board is a massive thing. Listen, I wouldn't put against them. I mean, they've made a brilliant appointment last year that most people would have been quite critical of. Everyone that now sees the vision will be, yes, I knew all along. But the manager they brought in wasn't somebody that people considered to be someone that was going to get them to the promised land. They did remarkably well to get to the final of the playoffs, and ultimately, because they sat in the positions of already being in the playoff spot.
Yeah.
Final spot, it's playoff spots for some time, which meant that they were treading water for a period of time, and they went into that playoffs on the back of some poor form, yet managed to dig out past Coventry and nick past Sheffield United when most people thought Sheffield United were going to get through. The manager's a good manager, and they've got some good energy there. And the centre back that got the goals in the semi-final for Ballard did it again on Saturday. So there'll be more difficult afternoons for them, but everything is in the right place for them right now.
Important to win those home games, Jim, isn't it? We saw that last season with Ipswich and teams of that nature didn't really get hold of those home games. 46,000, fever-pitched atmosphere, a great day, stadium alight. And the guys who scored the goals last season, I know they spent a bit of money, but still chipping in the Premier League is really important because you have to believe that you're a Premier League player now. And as much as that's in the mind as anything else, but 3 points at the start of the season is a great tonic for them.
I made a prediction on Friday, for what it's worth, that Sunderland will buck the trend. Do you go with me? That they'll stay up?
Well, I mean, history tells us otherwise. The last 2 seasons, the teams that have been promoted have been relegated. I'm enjoying that they're spending a bit of money. Leeds have a little bit behind. I think their net spend is about 80 million. Burnley are pretty close to what Sunderland spent, but they've had a go, Jim. They've sold 2 really outstanding players. Joby Bellingham, I would really have liked to have seen him in the Premier League. He's off to Germany following the trail of his brother. We wish him well, but would love to have seen him and see how he got on.
Does Sunderland survive?
You can't answer that question at this moment in time based upon...
Give me a prediction.
No, because it's not. What's the point? I might as well just pick it out of the air because there's no background for it. Sunderland have played a very poor West Ham side in the first game of the season, and there'll be darker days and more difficult days. But they've got some energy in that football club again, because I remember watching them drop out of the Premier League, watching Ellis Short be an absentee landlord, watching them have people like Darren Gibson falling out with people left, right, and centre when he was in dispute with the football club. Then watch them drop into the League One and all the challenges. Now they're full of vitality.
Sure.
So they can carry this forward in the next game. There'll be much more difficult games, and ask it after they've played 3 or 4 games, and then you can start seeing.
And they're playing Burnley they're playing Burnley next, Jim. So you when you look at it, I know it's early in the season, but you look at your rivals coming up. You have to win that game away. Burnley obviously getting a thumping at the weekend. We'll want to be putting that right.
Maybe unsurprisingly, many West Ham fans not happy. It seems to me most West Ham fans aren't happy at the best of times, but at the moment they ain't happy. 1 down, they lost it by 3-0. Graham Potter, in charge, of course, of the football club, took charge of West Ham in January, winning 5 of his 20 matches in charge. From September 2022 to the present, Chelsea and West Ham, in the managerial post that he held there, 17 wins in 51 games with 21 defeats. So what of Potter? Is he going to survive at West Ham? West Ham co-owner Karen Brady was speaking to the Sunday edition right here at talkSPORT and said, nah, we're behind him.
Graham is a forward-thinking manager. He's sort of calm under pressure. He's very detailed in his approach. He's a great manager of players. He builds a special relationship with players and they understand where he's coming from. And he has a modern mindset. And all of those things mean that it does take some time to put a team together, to get the team playing the way that you want. I mean, West Ham is not a club that panics about its managers. We tend to support people, stick with them and see it through. I really hope he does well. He's a pleasure to work with. He's incredibly professional. And I know the players respect him. I know his relationship with the players is good. I know he'll be sitting down with them today to have a long, hard think about what went wrong yesterday, expecting a reaction and expecting to put it right.
Simon, what's a modern mindset?
I don't know. Has Karen got one? The key component of that was hope. I hope he does well. Karen talked about all the different attributes that have got him fired from Chelsea because he didn't have the stomach to do the job there. Spent X amount of time picking jobs. I would suspect that's more to do with compensation he was getting from Chelsea than the jobs that were offered to him. And he hasn't hit the ground running. It's a difficult job, West Ham. The owners aren't particularly popular. I'm not including Karen in that. Sullivan. They've had some of their best players stripped out. In terms of they've had the challenge with Paqueta for the last 18 months where he's been alleged to have done certain things and has now got out from underneath that.
Yeah.
You've got Kudos being sold and the mainstay seems to be Bowen, who seems to be performing every single season. But it's clear at this moment in time that whatever message is imparting, however much the players respect him, they don't respond to him because they're not delivering outcomes. That was an abject performance. And Karen coming on and speaking about what kind of mindset he has, I would expect nothing less. But the key word that Karen talked about was I hope that things work out for him rather than I expect them to work out for him. Because right now, that's giving you margins, isn't it? Giving you an exit strategy for if you do make a decision with Graham Potter. If you look at the run of fixtures he's got coming up, he doesn't get any respite because they're all difficult fixtures. That was a poor performance for West Ham to go away on the first game of the season. We talked about his team starting. I mean, Ipswich's first game of the season was home to Liverpool, right? Yeah. You know, but Sunderland's first home game last season, home to an abject West Ham. West Ham have to be better. I'm sure they will be better. But right now, at this moment in time, the report card on Graham Potter at West Ham is not very good, is it?
No. I mean, and on that, can managers have a slump like players have a slump? Is he enduring a slump of his own?
It's going to test his resolve because, you know, obviously confidence, you know, can he still get that message across to the players? Everything in an upward curve when he was at Brighton, difficult managerial jobs he's had since. I think it was a devastating result for West Ham when you lose to a team that's good. We got used to seeing teams go straight back down. You lose the first game of the season 3-0. Yeah, Bowen is the standout player. Kudos leaving, Jim, would have been a massive blow to them. You've seen what he's done already at Spurs. Their next few fixtures, they play Chelsea, Forest, a re-emerging Spurs, and a very well-oiled Palace. You know, where you're going to get your results from there, got to find something very, very quickly.
They face Chelsea at the London Stadium on Friday, and that's live on talkSPORT. But I'm looking at the starting lineup. Maximilian Kilman, you raved about him, Sam.
I thought he played very well at the beginning of last season. I liked him when he was at
Aaron
Wolves.
Wan-Bissaka's in there. James Ward-Prowse is in there. Paqueta's in there. More than decent. Bowen. How can they do that? How can they crack like that on day one? These are players of some repute and pedigree.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, but these are players other clubs didn't want, and they've been shifted off to West Ham. You know, Aaron Wan-Bissaka was great at Palace, but wasn't so fantastic at Man United. Paqueta's had distractions. Bowen is a standout player for me. Kilman, I thought, is a good centre-back, but ultimately in a solid unit, he'll look better. The interesting thing about Carrick is West Ham do react. They sacked their manager. They had Lopetegui in place for 5 minutes. So they are capable of making decisions if the landscape isn't right.
I noticed you said, Simon, he didn't have the stomach for the Chelsea job.
Well, he didn't, did he?
Has he got the stomach for the West Ham job?
Well, I should think so, yeah. The Chelsea job had a different set of expectations upon him. I felt that, with all due respect to Graham, I thought he did a great job at Brighton. And the other fellow that came in, who was a pest in the end, built up from a platform that was really, really good at Brighton, that Graham Potter had established. But I felt in his press conferences at Chelsea, when he was getting a bit whiny about what he was, someone saying something to him that was challenging was a death threat. And I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't take these things seriously, but I felt he was lightweight towards the end of his time at Chelsea and couldn't make the transition from a Brighton club with limited expectation to a club of huge expectation. Now, West Ham falls slightly above Brighton. I know that the fan base will get very upset with that, but the expectations of Chelsea are different to the expectations of West Ham. So he doesn't have the same pressure, so I expect him to potentially come through this because he's a good football manager. But right now, whatever he's doing isn't working. It hasn't worked through the course of last season, and he opened the season up when you need to open the season up with a complete sea change in what you've done previously, and you get smashed by a newly promoted, full of beans, Sunderland side, and you really didn't lay much of a glove on them.
And this is after a full pre-season that he's had with West Ham.
It is, and I can hear Sunderland fans now sitting. Why are you talking about West Ham? West Ham. I mean, one thing that they did do, Sunderland, in this game, they put the ball in the box, and they were direct, and it was quite nice to see that you see a team that's coming up, and they've stuck to their guns. We're pass. No, we're not good at that. Let's be direct. Let's get the ball in. Let's get the crowd behind it. And let's get 3 points, and that's all they've done.
Yeah,
that's how they played last year, though, didn't they? So it wasn't a philosophy that they needed to change.
Well, they better get the skates on, West Ham, because at the moment Potter is not top of any popularity list in terms of what West Ham fans are feeling about them. What do they need? They need a knockout punch in the next game. And my God, over in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, your man, Mr. Atama, certainly had that. We'll talk boxing next. Monday, August the 18th. And it's Jim White, and it's Simon Jordan, and it's Arsenal Invincible, and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. And of course, Monday night, the final Premier League game of the first weekend, Leeds United, the new boys, up against David Moyes' Everton. Looking forward to that. It's live in talkSPORT. Who's going to come out on top in that one? Who came out on top in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday night? I tell you who. Headlining a card for the first time, Moses Atama sent Dillian Whyte down in the first round with 119 seconds on the clock. Referee Mikael Hook waved off the fight. Atama won it, and won it in style. Atama has now won all 13 of his pro bouts, with 11 of those wins coming by knockout. What did we actually learn in the process, though? Did we learn that Dillian Whyte should call it a day? Did we learn that Moses Atama is indeed the next big thing? The host of Fight Night here at talkSPORT, Adam Cattrall, joins us live. Adam, good morning to you. What did you learn, mate? Anything you didn't know about Atama that you now know?
From a technical point of view, no. But my takeaway is that he can deal with a big moment. That's a headline event against what we would class as a commercial name. There was a lot of pressure on him last week. I think when me and Simon sat down last week on Simon's Talk Boxing show, I think we were all on the same page that we thought the two would come through and that he would win the fight. It was whether he would do it quick or whether he would do it late. And you know, when you have a fight week like that, lots of the eyes of the world are on you. As a 20-year-old man, we need to keep reminding everybody just how old this young fella is. I thought he dealt with it absolutely fantastically. All week, the interviews that I watched, he looked like he would bang on. He speaks with... He's such a stoic guy, the way that he speaks with such calm and reassuredness. And then to get in there on a Saturday evening and do what he did in the manner that he did it, listen, he's ticked every single box. It's going to be an exciting ride watching this boy do his thing in the heavyweight division over the next few years.
You with Adam in that, Simon. He ticked every single box.
Well, I think Adam's assessment was absolutely right about the nature of the event. A headlining event where all the focus is on him, all the pressure, to some extent, despite his protestations during interviews during the course of the week that he didn't feel under pressure. There was always this indication that there was pressure because he goes into a fight, people expect him to knock people out. People are comparing him to a young Mike Tyson. You know, at this stage in his life, Mike Tyson had 28 fights before he fought Trevor Berbick to win a world title. This kid's had 12. The flip side of the argument is that Dillian Whyte was, unfortunately for us, was precisely what we had forecasted, which was a lamb to the slaughter in terms of a seemingly disenfranchised fighter that wasn't mentally in the right place, it seems, at any point during the course of the last week. I think that was amplified on Saturday night, watching him walk into the ring. I know that we do have a tendency to analyse ring walks more than we once used to, but they form part of the thinking of how a boxer looks. There was nothing about Dillian Whyte that showed any intensity, and so he got knocked out in the first round. It's precisely what I didn't want to see. What I actually wanted to see was Moses Atama, rather than having a big name on his resume, having a big name on his resume that was a live one, that was going to ask certain questions of him. And Dillian didn't, Adam. He didn't at all, did he?
No, he didn't. Do you think it would have been different 5 years ago, though, Simon?
In what respect?
From where Dillian's at now to where Dillian was maybe 5 years ago, do you think you would have been able to ask him more questions?
Absolutely.
Maybe 5 years ago.
Absolutely. But even from the switched-on point of view, all week, Adam, we were talking about Dillian Whyte's conditioning. We were talking about Dillian Whyte's response to the irritation of punditry and experts writing him off by his own words, expecting there to be some sort of reaction from him. And when you watch him walk into an arena, you saw a man that looked completely disconnected from the environment he was in and mentally miles away from it. So I think absolutely 5 years ago, Dillian Whyte, pre the humbling that he got from Tyson Fury, would have been a more challenging perspective
and of course,
for Atama.
All the big questions now are centering around Moses Atama and what may or may not be next for him. And he was asked that himself post-fight.
Honestly, I would fight anyone they put in front of me, so you shout a couple names out and I'm there.
Can I say a couple of names to you?
Who's not shouting Usyk?
There's a few saying Usyk.
Listen. If I be completely honest, Joseph Parker and Caballero do deserve the shot, but I'd love to take the opportunity as well. Chuck me in there with them lot.
Adam, if it was Parker, if it was Caballero, who would win it?
Against who? Against Usyk or against Atama? Which? Listen, first and foremost, I really like that answer. from Moses. I like the way that he has absolutely honoured the work that everybody else has done. The Parkers and the Caballels, they do deserve their shot at the king that is Usyk, and Usyk is, without any shadow of a doubt, the king. They are. Listen, that's a big question. What would happen if Moses Atama got in with a Caballel or a Parker? Because they are of a different mindset. What Simon was just alluding to there regarding where Dillian Whyte's currently at, those two guys are in a completely different place. Caballel's a really interesting fight for Moses Atama because he's young, he's hot, he works the body in a way that nobody works in the heavyweight division. So I think it'd be a really interesting puzzle for Moses Atama to try and figure out. Same with Joseph Parker, his hand speed's absolutely rapid. And with Andy Lee, he's come on leaps and bounds. Personally, I don't think that's the next fight for Moses Atama. I know that politics might get in the way of a few things here, and it might end up being Josie Parker, and we could end up with a super fight on our hands for the world title. I personally would like to see him maybe fight Filip Hrgović next, off the back of what Hrgović did at the weekend. I think that might be the right test for Moses Atama. We might get a few more answers that a few people want to see before we're then throwing him in with the likes of those elites that we've just been
You agree with
mentioning.
that, Simon?
Absolutely. I was just mouthing that. Yeah. That's exactly the space that I think that he lands in. I mean, ultimately, events may overtake circumstances, and if the WBO belt gets stripped away from Usyk because he doesn't want to make the fight against Parker, it may be that Frank takes the opportunity against Joseph Parker. The thing for me is, I think he's the real deal, Atama. I think he's the real deal, but no one's asking him any questions right now. And with due respect to Marius Wack and Dempsey McKean, they didn't because they couldn't. Yeah. There was an expectation that Dillian Whyte might, because Dillian Whyte, once upon a time, was a legitimate world title challenger, but he didn't. So there's still questions about him. I mean, I don't want to take a single thing away from Moses Atama because he did the job that was put in front of him, and he beats everyone that's put in front of him.
Keen to get your reaction, Adam, and yours, Simon, to what Fury said. Tyson Fury saw what Atama did in Riyadh on Saturday night, then went outside and recorded this.
So here's the opinion, you've heard it here first. Moses Atama will wreck all them old men out of the division. Usyk, AJ, Miller, whoever there is who's old, Zhang, whoever else there is, Luis Ortiz, all these big names of the past are all a spent force. And even the world champion now, if they took my belts and give them to Usyk, Moses will wreck him because he's a young man versus an old man.
Is Ortiz even fighting anymore?
Is Usyk a spent force, Adam?
Is he heck? Come on, Alexander Usyk has been there, done it, got the T-shirt. He's seen every single style under the sun, every shape, every size, away from home. He is the best thing that I've ever personally watched live. He's rightfully the king. He's not a spent force. And if you look at the way that he dealt with Daniel Dubois last time out, he's actually getting better. So, him aside, from everything that Tyson just said there, him aside, Tyson knows his boxing. He's been, listen, he knows more. He's forgotten more about boxing than I would ever know. And when you look at the style of what Moses Atama's doing, when you look at the finish of what he delivered against Dillian Whyte, this is not a kid that's just like full of testosterone winging away. He's very, very clever, meticulous, precise with what he's doing. His footwork's fantastic. His shot selection's superb. He's thinking his way through the finish. He would be, if you were to put him in with a large percentage of those top 10 tomorrow, he would beat them. Usyk, I think, is a step too far.
Would he beat Usyk? Would he beat Fury?
I don't. That's a question, isn't it? Regarding Usyk, I'm not going to disrespect him on your show, man. He's been there, done it, and got the T-shirt, and he's probably seen the likes of the Moses Atamas years ago in the amateur game. Moses Atama would definitely ask Alexander Usyk a set of questions that he might not have seen for a long period of time. Can Usyk solve them? Listen, there's nothing to say that he couldn't solve them. He's solved every other problem that's come his way, hasn't he? So I would probably back Usyk right now in that fight. But listen, in a year's time, 18 months' time, we might be in a different spot.
Yeah, I think that's right. Adam. How do you think he would go? I mean, I know we're talking about a slightly vanquished circumstance now surrounding Daniel, but how do you think Moses would go against someone like Daniel Dubois?
What a fight, Simon. You are a bad man. Frank's not going to like you for suggesting that, putting his two young charges together. If I'm really honest, if they were to put Moses Atama and Daniel Dubois in a fight right now, I think the skill level of Moses Atama would be just a touch too much for Daniel Dubois. I think he's that good. You can just see the way that he moves, the way that he thinks, the way that he's going through combinations, the way that, if you look at that finish at the weekend, he's never once in danger of getting whacked on the way out. He's defensively minded as well as being offensively minded in that finish.
Yeah.
He's just technically superb, mate.
Wow. What next for Moses Atama? The mind boggles. Extremely exciting prospect, is he not? And who is next for Moses? As soon as we know, you'll know. It's Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
When was the last time you saw someone score with a knuckleball free kick? We're going to take a look at why we're not seeing them anymore and explain a bit about how they work. The knuckleball peaked in the 2010s after that Ronaldo strike against Portsmouth in 2008 inspired academy players everywhere. Here's a young Mason Mount.
I tried to base my free kick on Ronaldo, hit the ball by the valve and it moves. So what do you do? Top corner.
Now, no ball is perfectly aerodynamic, so as it travels it creates ever-changing pockets of turbulent air, causing that unpredictable movement. Football's most prolific free kick taker, Juninho Pernambucano, perfected the technique but didn't invent it. He was inspired by players from the 90s and even the 50s. So how do you do it? You have to hit the ball head-on with as short a contact time as possible so the ball doesn't spin. Hitting by the valve helps with that short contact time, as it's the hardest part of the football. So why don't we see knuckleballs much anymore? It's because players are being told not to shoot from dead ball situations because the XG is so low. In fact, as Opta shows here, since the 08-09 season there's been a 10% reduction in players shooting from free kicks in the Premier League. And in 23-24, a record low of 11 free kicks found the back of the net. And the knuckleball, though spectacular, is imprecise, which is why it's becoming a thing of the past.
on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
And we're delighted to say we've been joined in studio by one of the top men at BetMGM, if not the top man. Matt Gibson is with us live as we look at who might do it in the Premier League, who might win tonight when Leeds United take on Everton. I have a good idea who Matt would like to win. Matt Gibson, good morning.
Morning, fellas. What an introduction that is, Jim.
It is indeed.
More often, shouldn't I?
But it's one that you thoroughly deserve, and welcome to our new studio. What do you think?
It's great. The view's gone, hasn't it? But no, this is proper. You lads look like you know what you're doing.
That. Thank you, Matt.
Battle, isn't it?
Yes. I must admit, I missed the view, Simon. Do you not? When we could look out the Thames from the 17th floor of the news building.
I missed looking at people outside the studio walking past, and I missed that looking out the window and you describing it to everybody.
That's right.
17th floor.
And on hot days, we could see who's wearing shorts and how much we frown on that. Just checking the Gibson legs. No, Matt's got his trousers on, which I'm pleased about. We're all pleased
as opposed to that PE teacher, Max Rushton, that comes in.
His trousers pulled down tonight, though, when they play Everton.
We'll get there, Martin. We'll get there.
Him. I like what you did there, Martin Keown, without even being asked. Premier League favourites. Who are they?
Well, Martin fancies Arsenal. There's a shock. To win it 2-1. Still behind Liverpool at 7-4. City a little bit bigger at 3-1. Listening to the show earlier on the train down, fellas. I know we've had one game. Particularly want to look at some debuts. Ekatike for Liverpool, very good. Reinders for City, very good. Elanga probably should score for Newcastle, should he not, against Villa. I was at Spurs on Saturday when they played Burnley. Mo Kudus, superb, really, really good. I don't know who else caught your eye, gents, of the new ones coming in. Like I say, I know it's only one game, but I think there's some notable performances from a couple of new.
Kudos, yeah. I thought he played really well. Looks as if he's picked things up quickly at Spurs.
Yeah.
Looks a really good addition.
How would you have fancied trying to look after Ekatike on the field of play?
He's very quick, Jim. You know, he came from Frankfurt. We saw that in the Europa League last season. You know, I think Van der Ven, he tested, didn't he? And that was at the quarter-final, semi-final. So I knew the pace was under the bonnet. I think it's a good acquisition.
Yeah. How do you, and the rest of you guys at BetMGM, how do you see this title race then, Matt?
We've got Liverpool as favourites. I think they always have been pre-season as well. Chelsea were the big market movers pre-season. They were 20-odd to 1. They're into tens now. I know a little bit stale yesterday, and I fancied João Pedro for the Golden Boot, and he barely had a touch. So it shows what I know. But we've got Liverpool top of the market. Arsenal just behind them. City again with that addition of Reinders. Everyone's saying how they're going to replace Kevin De Bruyne. Again, very early to say, but that lad looked the real deal from what I saw on Saturday
City
afternoon.
third favourite. Does that surprise you, Simon?
Not really. It's reflective of the circumstances surrounding the last season's performances, isn't it? I mean, City are come into this season having lost the FA Cup final, having lost out in the Club World Championships, having questions being asked of whether they can rebuild the past. So I'm not surprised the third favourites. That doesn't mean in real terms that they won't be a team that wins the league, but if you're basing it upon what the bookies looking at, which is actuarism and looking at the probability of likely outcomes, you'd go with Liverpool because Liverpool have won the league at Canter, strengthened and keep on strengthening. You'd be foolish not to have them as favourites. The question is whether Arsenal, with this centre forward who looked out of sorts yesterday, but you've got to give him some time to find his way around, are going to be a good bet to overtake Liverpool and be something that surprises people in the bookies by making them second favourites.
Interesting with Man City how that aura suddenly fell away. I think they lost 9 games last year in the Premier League, and the 2 previous seasons combined they only lost 8. It used to be really difficult to beat City. Last year, no. So they've but this Pep cannot be ignored, Jim. The amount of trophies he wins. Rarely does he go a season without winning something. If anything, that's only happened twice in his managerial career. So he'll be really up for it again this season.
I think since I've been talking to you fellas in the morning, we've always had City odds on at the start of the year. It's very rarely that you see them anything to 1. They've always been shorter than that. So 3-1. If you'd have told me City 3-1 3 seasons ago for this season, I wouldn't have believed you. I think it's quite a big price considering what they have done.
And you tell us, Matt, you were there, I wasn't. Tottenham winning 3-0 against Burnley. What do you think? What kind of job do you expect Frank to do?
They look good. I was quite shocked to see Archie Gray and Bergvall start in the middle. I mean, love Archie because of where he's from. But Bentancur and Polina on the bench in a season opener, I thought that was a big move.
Was that because of the midweek game?
I'm not sure
against PSG in the Super
Cup. I don't know, but if you were hedging your bets, you'd probably go an experienced lad next to a young lad rather than two sort of young 20-year-old boys.
It's a show of faith, though, wasn't it? From
they were really good. They didn't get overrun. They didn't get out muscle at all. Kudus was really lively. Richarlison's goals were fantastic. Van der Ven bailed him out a couple of times with his pace, but
a Spurs finish this season will be very interesting because Postecoglou's first year 5th, then 17th. Can they go to 5th again, or even higher?
Potentially. They, like I say, looked a little bit better at the back. Burnley didn't really test them. I think if you're behind Burnley, you'll be struggling this year.
Yeah.
Based on what I saw.
I mean, from what I gather, Richarlison was extremely impressive. But Martin, about time, no?
Yeah, I agree. We saw him, didn't we, at Watford? What was it, 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
Great talent, went to Everton, flashes of it. Seemed to be quite moody, difficult to get the best from him. Thomas Frank showing already what he's getting from him. 2 world-class finishes, quite similar finishes, showed his technique. We know he's got it there, Jim. It's just having that consistency. So, and then Solanke as well up top. So they've got 2 players there that they can get the best from. Thomas Frank's turning it around very quickly.
Yeah, I know it was only day one, but Sunderland on day one, Matt, showed that the new boys need not be overawed by their new surroundings. You know where I'm going with this. Will Leeds United be feeling similar, do you think, by close of play tonight after the Everton game?
I sincerely hope so. We've talked pre-season, haven't we? If the 3 promoted sides come up, who are the existing sides that you can drag into it? I think West Ham are one. I think Everton are one. Brentford, Wolves, probably the others that we can sort of get into the battle with us. I hope a similar performance from Leeds as Sunderland did and a similar result. We are 13-10 to win. Everton, big price, 23-10 to come to Elland Road and win, but it'll be bouncing tonight. I'm looking forward to getting back there and taking the seat and hopefully seeing a really decent performance from the lads and a couple of new arrivals. Me and Mark were just talking about Calvert-Lewin. Will he start? I don't know. He's only through the door on Friday. Joel Perreault, I've criticised him in the past, but he was Championship top scorer. He's probably earned the right for the 9 shirt and in the opening game, but I don't know really. It'll be a really interesting acid test. Everton at home is a game that you put a ring around 4 points.
Yeah.
Game 1 of the season.
Yeah.
What happens? I'm not sure how the fellas are feeling about it.
Well, of course, now Everton, in their ranks, won Jack Grealish. You said that's got jeopardy written all over it, Simon, when we were talking about that last week.
Yeah, I compared it to other transfers where big-name players have gone between clubs on loan deals. It hasn't worked out the way one anticipated. I also made the observation, which I know Sam Allardyce pushed back upon, which is that I'm not sure Grealish is quite the same sort of player that maybe David Moyes deploys, because he had Kudus and Paqueta at West Ham. They didn't play a brand of football that the West Ham fans particularly liked.
Yeah.
And so Jack going into that side as a carrier rather than a fetcher, and I don't know who the fetchers are, to me was a challenge, a potential challenge. It's not suggesting I'm going to be right, it's an opinion. And if Jack Grealish goes in there and performs at a high level, then Everton will get their money's worth out of him.
Exactly. Matt, I'll get back to you in a second because Moisey was asked about that. All right, Jack Grealish. Why Jack Grealish?
Look, it's a big challenge for Jack as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he responds to it. The best one I can think of was when I brought Jesse Lingard to West Ham. Jesse Lingard was probably not expected to be too successful and maybe a little bit worn down and not. I think Jesse came in and scored 10 goals in 12 games or 12 goals in 10 games. It was round those numbers he was at. He got himself back in the England team, got back in the England squad for how he had performed because it was the games in the Premier League and he showed his quality. If Jack can do a little bit of that Jesse Lingard, then it'll be a great story for Jack because it's a big year for England, World Cup, and I've only seen him for a few days here live and close up, and he's looked fabulous in how he looks, and he's in good enough shape. So there's lots of good things to like about Jack. I just need to make sure I get it at the right time and make sure he's played football and we think he's had enough minutes, etc., etc.
It's interesting that, Simon. Go on then, Jack. Do what Jesse Lingard did for me.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard did it for a period of time, then did nothing the following season. He did it for 3 or 4 months, and that's absolutely right. And if you can get 3 or 4 months of high performance out of Jack Grealish, maybe the same argument's there. Different dynamic. Jack is clearly a good player. But you don't become £100 million footballer at Man City, get marginalised by them, and find yourself out on loan at Everton because things are going well.
That's a good point.
It's a good addition, though, Jim. This is the sort of player.
Will it lift everyone else?
It sort of lifts the group, lifts the manager, and I feel David Moyes, by the way, is getting ever better as a manager, Jim. You can still do that even if you're late in the tooth as a manager. He's been around a long time.
Might lift the bar takings around that area.
Yeah,
that's not fair.
He always plays well against Leeds, I tell you. When he played for Villa, he was mustard for them against us.
I know who you want to win. What are you going to tell us regards who may or may not win it?
I think the crowd will lift them. I think the crowd will get them over the line. I know Everton will bring a few. There's obviously the ex-CEO, Angus Kinnear, is now at Everton, and he's coming back for the first game. So I think there'll be plenty on the line. I think the roof will come off early doors if we can keep it tight for the first half hour. I think we do them. I think if Everton score early, it'll silence the crowd and it'll be hard to come back. Before I go, Jim.
Go on.
I know me and Simon sometimes there's confusions about our season-long bets. Are we going to have anything this year with regards to Leeds staying in the division?
If you'd like to, I'm actually going to go down to the point of where I think Leeds will stay in the division.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go against you.
Do you want a Palace handicap? Give me a 25-point head start, something like that.
Well done, Matt. Go on.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so we get 20. We're 25 on the board, and if Palace finish more than 25 points in front of Leeds, I'll come and wear a Palace shirt live on air.
Okay.
Speaking of shirts, Simon, I know you've been at me. This is not for you. It's for your wee lad.
Oh, good lad.
I've got that one for you. So
Thank you very much.
Along with you today.
Got his name on the back.
Love that.
They don't have a Premier League patch on the sleeve, so that was a shame.
Right.
But
don't worry about it.
We'll give it a year.
Look at that. If you're watching on YouTube or your smart TV, look at that. A little Leeds top. That would fit producer look. Matt, that was very, very, and that was totally unfair of me, and I take that back. There you go.
Thank you.
That is yours. The much-travelled Matt Gibson, because you were at the Tottenham game.
Yeah.
You're now here in London with us, and we thank you for that. And now you're going to Leeds. I tell you what,
good luck tonight,
BetMGM, get the best out of you, boy. Thank you so much, Matt. Remember, visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
talkSPORT with Keep Britain Tidy. No ifs, no buts. If you smoke, bin your butts.
That's right. This time now for the feature of Keeping Britain Tidy, which we all want to do. We certainly should play a part in doing it. We're going to take a look at a certain topic, and we are going to discuss whether or not this topic has merit to it, or indeed should we put it in the bin. And in the process, keep Britain tidy. You with me, Simon?
Indeed.
You with me, Martin? Let's do this. Martin, I didn't realise this is coming in, but it is starting this season. If a goalkeeper holds the ball in his hands for more than 8 seconds, the opposing team will be awarded a corner kick. And we saw that come into action for the first time over the weekend as Spurs were awarded a corner following Burnley's Dubravka holding on to the ball too long. Are you having that? Is that good for the game? Is it good for the flow of the game?
It's an interesting initiative. I think it's quite difficult to police it. You saw yesterday that Jokeridge was standing on the Manchester United goalkeeper and the referee had to go in and try to remove that. I'm wondering if it's taking up too much of the focus for the referee so he can, enforce the law. But we were ignoring it in the past. It used to be the 6-second rule. So in order for it now to have some teeth, they're giving it 8 seconds. If you don't release the ball, I think after 5, the arm is raised by the referee. Okay, you need to release that now. So by and large, I thought the referee dealt with that very well in the Arsenal-Manchester United game yesterday.
You think it's a good... It sounds to me like it's a good idea because anything, Simon, to keep the game flowing, keep it moving. Cannot stand it when there's breaks.
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of initiatives and thought processes, and David Dean was often very vociferous about the amount of time that the ball was in play, former Arsenal vice chairman, and how much value people are getting out of the play, and so on and so forth. I mean, look, I think it has to... If you believe that a rule needs some teeth, then you have to have some enforceability behind it.
Yeah.
Does it have a series of unintended consequences, as Martin alludes to, which is referees being distracted and players creating outcomes, i.e. making goalkeepers have to hold the ball for 8 seconds because they're standing in front of them? Look, I think it's probably got probably a decent innovation.
So we're having it. We're not binning it.
Just about, yeah. I mean, I think around the goalkeepers, when a goalkeeper goes down, and there was a meeting actually with the Premier League, and I think Martin Tyler raised a very good point in terms of the goalkeeper doesn't have to go off.
Yeah.
So, you hope that the goalkeepers are not, they're genuinely injured. If they're not genuinely injured, then it's a lot of time wasting going on. And it was felt maybe by Martin that another player should leave the field of play. So they should be down to 10 men. Because, of course, the keeper doesn't have to leave, but like a scrum half in rugby, doesn't have to lead the field of play, Jim. So we're hoping for the right intentions, and honesty.
Right.
Particularly the goalkeepers.
The 8-second rule, we kind of like the sounds of that, and we think that has got a future. I wonder if we keep this idea from Pep, or do we bin it? Is there a sweet spot for competition and squad harmony? Pep Guardiola, even after the win, and a convincing win at that, over Wolves, was saying, now, do you know something? My squad size is still too big.
No. There are too many people, too many players. No, it's not about that. You have today was Rodri because it's still not dead, and Phil were injured, but Kovacic is out. He will be back. Savinho is out, and Josko. And look the bench. You have Nathan and Gundo, and that is. I like type of squad to compete all competitions, but I don't want to leave players at home. I don't want it. This is not healthy. You cannot create a good vibe, a good atmosphere. To compete, and everyone has to feel I can play, I can help, I can compete with my mate to win the opponents. I need that, and we have the club knows it since last season. It's not news, but the situation is where it is, and like I do, people in the next 2 weeks, the people will talk with the players, agents, and we'll find a solution.
One hand, Martin, they say, well, I need a decent-sized squad because it's all about rotation. And now Pep is saying here, now I've got too many, in spite of the fact that Kevin De Bruyne, Kyle Walker have already both left to join Napoli and Burnley, respectively. James McAtee signing for Nottingham Forest. Grealish has gone to Everton on loan. Victor Rice will spend the 25-26 season with Girona. And yet he's got too many, he says.
Yeah, and of course I can almost hear Simon now saying, you have never got enough players, and now you've got too many players. I think it has to be healthy, and I think he's trying to dig out some of these players. There are quite a lot of players there, Jim. That your Calvin Phillipses, these sorts of players, Savinho as well. that are being talked about to leave, and I think he's trying to push them to the exit door. And I think when you see the first game of the season, you do your hard pre-season, and you notice that you're not involved. It's a crushing feeling for the player. I know they look comfortable. One or two might just say, let's sit this out. And there'll be negotiations in terms of transfer fees and what deal they're going to take. They'll all be suffering a loss in wages because Man City are paying huge money to these players. And it's a casualty, really, isn't it, of perhaps making the wrong decision on some of these players where they haven't been there that long and haven't fulfilled the potential that the manager thought they were going to deliver.
Is it a case, do you think, Simon?
Who signed him? He signed him.
Yeah.
On his recommendation, you mean?
Well, yeah, ultimately, I don't think there's any indication at Man City that players get signed without Pep Guardiola's input on it. So it is, it's a formulaic answer, and Martin's already addressed it. But you can't win this argument, because if you have too fewer players, if you scale back the squads, then you'll have the argument about how many games they're playing. If you upsize the squads to be able to meet the expectations of the games they're playing, to meet the demands of their financial returns, then you've got too many in the squad. It's one of those you can't win. You can't win. You sign these players. Maybe if you don't charge £67 million for Savinho rather than what the market's prepared to pay, you might move some players out, and maybe that's the underlying message.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think, with respect to Pep's excellence and brilliance as a football manager, I just think he's a contrarian sometimes for the sake of being a contrarian. If you were running a different argument with Pep about the value of a squad and ability to rotate, because Liverpool have had big squads, and one of the things I always felt was a massive feather in Jurgen Klopp's cap was the ability to rotate players, and seemingly they came in and did what they needed to do whenever he called upon them, whoever that may be, whichever player that may have been at the time. And now the latest version of unhappiness from a football manager is, I've got too big a squad. You do have to say, you do have to sit back.
Did you ever a manager come to you at Palace and say, I've got too many? I've got too many.
No, and the age-old expression was the polar opposite. We need another body in the building. We need more players. We need more resource. So, you do have to sit there and say, well, I've heard it all now.
There's been some tough decisions to be making, isn't there, really? You look at Edison, you look at Grealish. They've all won copious amounts of trophies, Jim.
But everybody moves on.
It's a tough love. And now it's like, the next child's born and you're out the door. You're not a favourite anymore.
Tough old business, isn't it? Tough old business. So Pep's argument, are we having it, or does it go in the bin?
I would put it in the bin, but that's predictable for me.
I think it's not that healthy, Jim. When you're looking around players that are not actually with the group and they're training away from you.
We'll throw it in the bin, see if it bounces on the top where it lands.
I like that. No, Pep, you're in the bin with that one. And that's all thanks to keeping Britain tidy.
Get in the bin! On talkSPORT with Keep Britain Tidy. No ifs, no buts. If you smoke, bin your butts.
right, 12 noon this Monday lunchtime. When we come back, we're going to be joined by talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook as we shall look at the movers and shakers in this current transfer window. Is there a latest on Alexander Isak? We're back with that in the meantime with more of the sports headlines at 12 noon. Here's Nick Ellaby.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon. Martin Keown says this is Mikel Arteta's time.
Well, I'm backing them this year for the first time in a long, long time. The last 3-4 years, I've not done so, and this year I am.
So Arsenal tipped to end their double-decade wait for a Premier League title. And despite that 1-0 win for Arsenal at Old Trafford, Mr Keown says Man United are back in business.
Fans will look at it and say it's just another defeat, but actually I think they made a lot of progress in the way they played, very clever, the way they picked up the message from the manager, the wing-backs pushing higher up the pitch, 2 midfield players close to the back 3. They weren't in any kind of a rush. It was a good platform to build their attacks from.
Tonight on talkSPORT, we've got live and exclusive coverage of Leeds versus Everton. That's from 7 p.m. Meanwhile, we understand Brentford are continuing to block Johan Wissa's move to Newcastle. They won't let him go without a replacement. Nottingham Forest have completed the signing of Arnaud Kalimwendo from Rennes. That's a 5-year contract. The deal's worth around £25 million. Kalimwendo follows Hutchinson and McAtee into Forest this week. Spurs have confirmed what we reported on Thursday. Jed Spence has signed a contract extension. For all the latest, go to talksport.com. And talkSPORT's boxing expert Adam Cattrall's told us Moses Atama is Britain's best current heavyweight fighter. Atama stopped Dillian Whyte in the first round on Saturday, and Cattrall says the 20-year-old would beat Dubois.
If I'm really honest, if they were to put Moses Atama and Daniel Dubois in a fight right now, I think the skill level of Moses Atama would be just a touch too much for Daniel Dubois. I think he's that good.
There's loads more analysis of the Atama-Whyte fight on talkSPORT's boxing YouTube channel.
talkSPORT with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
3 people have been killed in Russian strikes on Ukraine as Volodymyr Zelensky prepares to meet Donald Trump for talks on ending the war. And big fires ripped through a building in Essex with people told to evacuate. There's more with Will at past.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is now officially Monday afternoon. It is Jim Whyte, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. So many of you getting in touch, and this is what I love about it, getting in touch with all sorts of questions, not least what player is going to what club. And of course, at this time of the year with the clock ticking, that is what invariably it is all about. So the movers and shakers in the world of transfers, and 3 becomes 4 because talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook joined Simon, myself and Martin live on the show. Alex, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. I feel like this is a bit of a throwback, Jim. Me sat in my car, Harry Redknapp style, talking to you about transfers.
That is fine by me. Yes, you are you still up in the northeast after the Manchester United Arsenal game yesterday?
Yeah, just making my way back down the M6. I thought it was a good game yesterday, in fairness, much improved from Manchester United, but Martin Keown's old club obviously doing enough to get the job done, albeit with the help of the United keeper. We're going to talk about their goalkeeping situation imminently, but I think, yeah, lots of reason to be positive for Ruben Amorim. But I tell you what, I'd be surprised if there are many teams in the Premier League who keep more clean sheets than Arsenal this season. They are the masters at game management and seeing out wins.
Okay, let's get into this, Alex. What is the latest, if there is a latest? Let's start with Johan Wissa, of course, the French player, of course, a Brentford player, but for how much longer?
Well, maybe longer than a lot of Newcastle fans are hoping for. We broke the news exclusively this morning that Brentford continue to make it difficult for Johan Wissa to make that move to the northeast. Of course, he was on strike effectively earlier in the summer, refusing to train with the rest of his teammates, didn't feature as they were well beaten at Nottingham Forest yesterday. A lot of people assume that when they signed Dongo Watara from Bournemouth, that's a club record £42.5 million deal that went through over the weekend. That would facilitate Wissa moving to Newcastle. Maybe not, Jim. I'm told that actually he's the Brian Mbumo replacement, and for Wissa to be allowed to leave, they would have to sign another forward, or Newcastle are going to have to pay in the region of £60 million. Keith Andrews, the new manager there, I'm told, has a good relationship with Jan Wissa, and he believes that if he does stay at the football club, he can reintegrate him and go on to have a successful season. So maybe more bad news for Newcastle, and it's been a tough summer for them getting deals over the line.
I mean, you wonder how Wissa will feel about that, Simon. I mean, I know it boils your blood when you hear about players threatening to go on strike or even doing such a thing. But I mean, at the moment, it seems to be a bit of disquiet between Wissa and whether or not he can leave the football club.
Well, I mean, that's Newcastle's own fault, isn't it, to some extent, because they wanted to lowball a player because they felt they could nick him. And that creates a vacuum that can be filled by either Keith Andrews getting back into the player who he had such a wonderful relationship with from the outset that he went on strike, and now seems to have a wonderful relationship with him because he might stay. Maybe he should have had that wonderful relationship so we didn't have the problems in the first place. Look, I mean, Keith Andrews needs a group of players around him because, judging by their performance in the first half against Nottingham Forest, they're going to have some troubles this season. But then again, Brentford were a little bit hit and miss last year at the beginning of the season. They looked great away from home. They looked poor at home, didn't they? And no one talks about Thomas Frank in any other terms besides glowing.
Yeah.
So you've got to give this guy his head. But Newcastle's problem about signing Wissa is of their own making because they wanted to do what they don't like being done to them. Which is
Keith Andrews was critical, though, of his players, which is not something I've heard too often Thomas Frank doing yesterday. So it will take...
him naive, didn't he?
Yeah, it will take time. Of course, there's big shoes to fill, by the way, with a manager who hasn't got much experience, but obviously really good things are thought about him. But he's got... No, but he's got... Okay, already. There's a lot he's going to have to achieve quickly. And when he's out his best players, I mean, Norgard was allowed to leave and Mbuemo was allowed to leave. So that, there's a big hole in a Brentford team that was just sort of coming to terms with the Premier League and had inconsistent results last season.
OK, let's talk Ben Doak. What are we hearing about him this lunchtime? Scottish player, of course.
Well, I think this one is pretty much done, Jim, to Bournemouth. We reported over the weekend that a deal was close. There was some interest from Porto as well, but Bournemouth always felt like they were in the box seat. Obviously, a good relationship between them and Richard Hughes, the sporting director at Liverpool. It's going to be a £25 million deal. Initially, I'm told Liverpool will have a buyback option as well. He's already completed the first part of his medical. And this is the Dongo Watara replacement for Bournemouth because, of course, they've lost a few players in this summer transfer window. So I'd expect them to try and bring a few more in between now and September the 1st, when, of course, the deadline comes into play. I still think they'll be okay, Bournemouth. I think we saw enough, actually, at Anfield on Friday night when they gave Liverpool a real fright. Let's be honest, the final result probably wasn't reflective of the game itself. I don't have any concerns that Bournemouth are going to be dragged into trouble.
Yeah, well, certainly Semenyo looked the business, did he not? We'll be talking about him further down the line before we go today at 1 o'clock. What is going on with the goalkeepers at Manchester United?
Well, a lot of Manchester United fans, I can tell you, coming away from Old Trafford last night, were asking that question. Big call from Ruben Amorim because he said on television before the game, Andre Onana is fit. But basically, Altay and Tom Heaton on the bench have earned their chance over pre-season. And then 13 minutes into the game, Altay basically chucks the ball into his own net and Manchester United are beaten. Listen, I think everybody knows that the goalkeeping position is a problem for United. They paid over the odds for Andre Onana at the bequest of Erik ten Hag. And actually, that summer transfer window when Rasmus Højlund came in and Mason Mount as well, looks quite a painful one now for Manchester United because you've got to say Mason Mount was decent yesterday. None of those signings have worked out particularly well. Højlund, watching from the stands, we expect him to join Milan. I did ask Ruben Amorim after the game, are you going to bring a new goalkeeper in because it's clearly an issue? And he said difficult. It's not going to be an easy deal to do. And I think that's because they're not queuing around the block for Altay and Onana. I have been told this morning that they would be open to loaning Onana and potentially bringing in a replacement. But he didn't sound too confident to me. They've been linked with Donnarumma. Looks like Manchester City a more likely destination for him. But if they could get that deal done, that would be a massive boost for Amorim.
OK. At Stamford Bridge yesterday, we saw Eberechi Eze standing on the pitch at the end applauding the Palace fans. When players do that, might signal that they're off. Is he off?
I think he probably will end up at Tottenham, but I think Spurs are going to end up paying a bit more than they wanted to. This deal looked close on Saturday night. In fact, sources close to Eberechi Eze were suggesting maybe he wouldn't feature at all for Crystal Palace at Chelsea. Credit to his character and his professionalism. Not only did he play, but obviously he had a goal ruled out. Somewhat controversially, although I think probably the referee did apply the rule book correctly in the end. Certainly that's what FA Sam Matterface has told me this morning. But yeah, Tottenham really keen to get this deal done. They've lost James Maddison to a nasty knee injury. They missed out on Morgan Gibbs-White. I think it's seen as a priority position by Thomas Frank. Eze wants to make the move. He's happy because he gets to stay in London. He gets to play Champions League football. But I think they're going to have to pay in excess of £60 million.
Simon and Martin alongside me. Simon, I mean, did you make anything of at the end of the Palace game? And I clocked it on Sky when they ran the footage. Glasner trying to beckon or at least draw the attention to him from Mark Gahey as Gahey was heading to the tunnel. Gahey blanked him, headed to the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange phenomenon. And again, something that Roy Keane pointed out about managers wandering onto fields now and seemingly needing to be embracing their players or having a conversation with on the field when they've got all the time in the world to do it in the dressing room. So you're opening yourself up to that. Gahey's not that sort of player, is he? He's a decent lad. So I don't suspect there's anything very much to read into it. And it was interesting, Glaston was talking in his press conference afterwards about what people do and don't know. And how people do and don't know things. And the only people that do know the things are the people actually involved. And I don't know whether he was referring specifically to the situation with Eberechi Eze. I hope the Palace make Spurs pay because make them pay the relief. And Alex has regularly talked about the release clause expiring. It seems like a strange thing to have a release clause expire in the middle of a transfer window and the one time you can sell somebody. And I'm not sure who it benefits the more. In terms of whether the club now get an opportunity to demand precisely what they want the players to get on with it.
It looks like, Simon, sorry to interject, that Gahey going off the pitch, because it was an interesting one, but is he the player who's been told, look, okay, you've only got a year left, but knuckle down, get on with it? And it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. You want me to come over there? I've already applauded our fans. I'm not going back again. And maybe Eze's
But his chairman's already said they've got to sell him, haven't they?
Well,
his chairman has said that we're going to sell him.
One of them will go. It's looking more increasing like both, but that leaves a massive hole.
Of course it does.
In this team.
And they've been able to push back. I mean, they lost 2 last year, didn't they? They lost Anderson to Fulham, which I think they weren't overly concerned about, and then they sold David Elise to Bayern Munich. This time around, a bit in the past, we've seen the situation when Wilfried Zaha left, and everyone was up in arms about whether he should or shouldn't stay because he was a mainstay of Palace's team, and yet they've kicked on. But I think losing a centre half and losing your best creative player is not going to be easy for them. It may be the only way that Glasner gets any money, but I imagine Glasner won't be too thrilled around the circumstances. But there's nothing that you can't blame anybody for the centre-back's position. He didn't want to sign a new contract last year. They weren't going to get him on a new contract, so they have to sell him now. Also, as well, what does that do to the morale of the players that are left behind? Mateta are doing really well. Sarr is another one in midfield who, for me, is looking outstanding. Wharton.
Yeah.
They're FA Cup winners. They're playing in Europe. They're playing for a decent-sized London football club with a good manager. They'll have to get on with it.
You have to get on with it. Newcastle United fans, Alex, at the end of the game at Villa Park, got on with it, but in no uncertain terms. Were singing and giving out a message as to what they thought of the behaviour of Alexander Isak. We'll find out if there's a latest on that. Eddie Howe spoke briefly about it.
We would like a resolution. When I say we, I'm sort of talking about myself and I'm sure the ownership, everyone, really the players that we have, because I think we need that clarity. This season, any season, Premier League season is going to be hard enough. You don't need any kind of distraction to swerve your thoughts, to unbalance what we're doing. So, yes, but I'm certainly not in control of that, and I think there's only one person really that can control that.
There we are. Eddie Howe wants a resolution to the Alexander Isak situation. What does that look like, Alex?
Well, that's a pretty clear message, isn't it, to Alexander Isak, that he needs to pull his finger out and rejoin his teammates because they've got a huge game on Monday. I don't think he's going to feature, but the atmosphere at St James's Park is going to be interesting, to say the least, because, of course, Liverpool are the visitors, and I'm sure Newcastle fans are going to make it clear exactly what they think about their attempts to sign Alexander Isak. But this Johan Wissa situation that we spoke about at the top of this section does have implications for Alexander Isak, because Newcastle, to let him go, I think still need to sign 2 forwards. I've mentioned that Wissa is becoming a difficult deal to do. There was talk last week of Gonzalo Ramos from PSG. That was played down to me. I'm not sure that the player is keen to swap the European champions for Newcastle. Samu at Porto is another Newcastle have inquired about, but that seems to have gone cold as well. You can talk about Ollie Watkins, but Villa, I think, would have to get a replacement and to let him go this late in the window. Maybe the one who is attainable is Nicholas Jackson, but Chelsea want big money there. Do you know what, Jim? The nearer we get to the deadline, the nearer we get to September the 1st, I think the more likely it is that Alexander Isak stays at Newcastle. And then you ask the question, because those taunts were audible, and it was a majority of Newcastle fans at Villa Park making their feelings clear. How on earth does he start to patch up his relationship with the Magpies faithful?
Gee, Alex, thanks for that. Does that equate to some kind of a resolution, Simon, if Isak stays?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I think, as we've said and discussed, I think it's their own fault, Newcastle, to some extent. They've allowed a vacuum to develop where the players got bold, his agency have got bold, and they've made certain positions about what they will and won't do. Liverpool don't appear to want to move. Newcastle don't appear to want to sell the player for any price besides the one they determine, which, by the way, is their right. And perhaps if they'd have done what Marinakis had done from the outset, which is sit with a player and remind him of where he really is playing for and how things will play out for him in the real world, rather than in the sort of curated world of how an agent and player think they can live with 3 years on their contract, it might have had a better outcome. The fact is that if he isn't sold by Newcastle, then it'll become incumbent upon Eddie Howe to make sure that people embrace the return of this player. Well, he'll go in a year's time, but the fact is now Newcastle will have won a little battle in establishing themselves as a club that doesn't get pushed around by so-called legacy football clubs, and Isak will have to play properly for them, and probably will.
Do you think, Simon, in terms of like how Newcastle have handled this? I mean, he was being linked with all the top other clubs in the Premier League. Early last season, Arsenal, Liverpool were bidding for this player. Do you think with better communication behind the scenes, we've heard lots of stories at Ronaldo, for instance, Manchester United, Sir Alex Ferguson pulled him early and said, right, give me 1 more year. Give me 1 more year. Let's keep it all together, because it can implode a little bit. I think it's tricky because every press conference, I'm just wondering whether they could have anticipated what was coming.
But that's the big question, isn't it? About the leadership. I mean, they've got a huge ownership model behind the scenes that has all the money in the world, that ultimately has extreme influence in every sport that it plays in, and yet seems to be compliant with everything that goes on in English football and silent on what's happening with the big news story around their football club. And it would, with the fact that Darren Eales is no longer the CEO because he's not working there because of ill health, they seem to have nobody saying something very bold, which is this player will do as he's told. And he was saying it to the player, because what they're doing now is they're saying, like, the constant thing is, I was given an understanding. No, you weren't. You've got a contract. This constant load of old cobblers that players are trotting out now. I was given a gentleman's agreement. Oh, really? So when I draw up your contract from now on in, I'm going to draw it up on the back of a gentleman's agreement. We're not going to have contracts anymore. We're just going to have gentleman's agreement on everything. No, I don't want a gentleman's agreement. I want a proper contract. But when it comes to you wanting to leave and break your contract, then you understood it to be a gentleman's agreement, did you?
Yeah, but with better communication, then that's not lost.
I agree.
Interpretation. Yeah. So there's there may be a missing link here, and it's maybe Eddie's missing out because that's not being communicated to
absolutely.
the player.
But the Marinakis stepped into the void at Nottingham Forest and went to the player and said to him, I don't think so, son.
Yeah. And what we do know is Newcastle play Liverpool, as Alex said, a week tonight. Ooh, that'll be interesting. Monday lunchtime, change of sport. We're going to leave football for a second and get on to the topic of horse racing for a very specific reason. Because British horse racing will go on strike from September the 10th in protest against the government's proposed tax rise on betting within the sport. 4 fixtures scheduled for that day: Lingfield, Carlisle, Uttoxeter and Kempton will not go ahead. It's the first time the sport has voluntarily refused to race in its modern history. Now, what's the background to this? It comes amidst the Treasury's proposal to introduce a single remote gambling tax, which would increase the 15% tax rate paid by bookies on racing up to 21%, aligning it with online gaming. But it's certainly a date for the diary, not a date that the horse racing industry was predicting. Horse racing broadcaster and the host of Racing Live and talkSPORT 2, Lee McKenzie, joins us. Lee, this is a pretty sorry state of affairs, is it not? Good afternoon.
Hello, Jim. How are you doing? Hello, gents. It is, and it's unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this before. But whether it's been billed up as a strike, but it's kind of the BHA that runs horse racing decided there's going to be no racing that day. It does appear very much as if there are a lot of people on side with that. So, like racecourses, most racecourses, I think, have said they're in agreement. Certainly, the 2 major racecourse groups have. We've also got various other people, like trainers, for example, who stated they're very much behind it. But whether this is going to work or not, there have been many ways in which the BHA have tackled the government in the past on issues like this, or their predecessors. But a strike is unprecedented. So funny thing is, we'll never know whether it works or not, because if the government decides to not to impose the extra additional tax that you mentioned there, we won't know whether it's the tax was delayed or called off altogether because of the strike, or whether the government could do it anyway. We just don't know.
I mean, the BHA says this would have a destructive impact on the industry, predicting an estimated £330 million loss, Lee, in revenue, and putting about 3,000 jobs at risk. Is it that severe? Is it that dreadful?
Well, that's what their projections say, but they are only projections. Of course, it is entirely possible that if the tax were to go up from 15%, which is the standard tax that has been paid since 2001 by bookmakers, I must stress that, by bookmakers, not by punters. There is no betting tax on punters in this country. But of course, the idea is that many people believe that the money is clawed back by bookmakers offering less advantageous terms to the punters or something. So a lot of people think the bookmakers are getting the money back that they have to pay in tax. But in terms of what's going to happen next, I don't know. I mean, when you look at the situation that's arising at the moment around the whole country in terms of tax in general, the government likes tax. Governments, full stop, like tax, don't they? And why is racing so
any different?
Special?
Yeah.
Now, they say, as you mentioned there, that there could be huge consequences if the tax were to go up, and all these people would be put out of work, and the amount of money coming in, as you said, 300 million over 5 years. But would that happen? There are only projections. It might be that nothing would happen at all, and that punters would carry on betting just as they always have done.
I'll put that to Simon, actually, and it's a good point you make. I mean, Simon, basically it boils down to, does sport have to suck it up like the rest of us when it comes to the tax man?
But they don't, do they? Because every industry that could possibly go on strike does, in terms of the government purse. But in this instance, this is hitting into the margin of the bookmakers. So is everybody sitting there bleeding their hearts about margins of bookmakers then? Why aren't bookmakers able to absorb some of this? Why is it? I mean, if you're going to present a picture, you're going to present the worst case scenario, aren't you? You're going to present the situation in its worst possible format in terms of projection, so that you move the needle as to people's considerations about what could happen. You're going to say 3,000 jobs are going to be lost, when in essence there's a 6% hit to the bookmakers' margin. So why aren't the bookmakers able to absorb a proportion of that as a result of having an affiliation? It's interesting. We talk about betting and the influence that it has on sport, and there's lots of campaigns around people suggesting that betting should be marginalised, and football clubs are taking betting sponsors off their shirts because the moral observations about what it does and doesn't do to society. I'm not in that camp. Yet you have an industry that's being underpinned by it, and what we're doing is we're saying that the bookmakers cannot in part absorb this 6% increase in tax. So they're operating on such low-level margins, which I'm not sure that I've seen many bookmakers walking around with their backsides hanging out of their trousers.
Lee, briefly, as Simon got a point, is there going to be much, if any, sympathy for the bookmakers?
I think he's got a very good point, and indeed there are other ways in which the tax that they have to pay could be clawed back anyway. Like, for example, a horse that you were going to back at 6-1 might be 11-2 or 5-1, for example. I don't think many punters would even notice if bookmakers were to pull in those margins a little bit and offer slightly less attractive prices than they do at the moment. So it is quite possible that this could happen, and there would be no effect, despite the dramatic figures that we've heard over the last few weeks from the BHA. So I think it's whether or not it's going to convince the government is another matter, because they'll have their own people doing the figures, and their figures might turn out to be very different from the BHA's.
Okay, Lee Mackenzie, thank you so much for the moment. But certainly as things stand, 4 fixtures scheduled for September 10. Lingfield, Carlisle, Uttoxeter and Kempton will not go ahead. And that's not an each way bet. That's a certainty. Stay with us. Much more coming your way in the last half hour.
Who doesn't love the Ryder Cup, the competition that ignites and unites the greats of golf like no other? 1927 brought us the very first edition at the Worcester Country Club in Massachusetts. For the first 22 editions, when it was just British and Irish golfers versus the US, America were only beaten 3 times. But in 1979, in came Europe, and in came Seve Ballesteros, who went on to win 5 of them. Since Team Europe became a thing, the head-to-head reads Europe 13, USA 9. Europe's last away win was the miracle at Medina in 2012. America hasn't won on European soil since 1993 at the Belfry. So what about the money? The most recent Ryder Cup in Rome drew in a record 271,000 spectators and boosted the Italian economy by €262 million. The PGA of America TV deal with NBC is worth $440 million, but 2025 will be the first time ever that the US team will receive a fee for playing. Of course, in Rome, legend has it Patrick Cantley refused to wear his cap because he wasn't being paid to wear it, though he insisted it simply didn't fit. Either way, Team Europe have made it clear they're more than happy to keep playing for the thrill, joy and prestige of the Ryder Cup.
The NFL returns to Wembley in October as the Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we have a huge competition to win VIP tickets. That's right. We're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box at Wembley with full hospitality and $5,000 spending money. Here's how to enter.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
Just gone 12:30 this Monday lunchtime. A shame we've got to highlight this, but we have to highlight it because it happened. Friday night, the opening night of the Premier League season, is marred with alleged racism from a supporter towards Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo. Semenyo had a great game, played out of his skin. He was magnificent all night long. But then this. A moment, certainly, that football could do without. Of that, there is no doubt. A 47-year-old man from Liverpool has been arrested on suspicion of a racially aggravated public order offence. Semenyo reported being racially abused by a fan to the referee on the night, Anthony Taylor, who stopped play. It was in the 29th minute of the game, and the same man was ejected from Anfield. Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool captain, said, "I can't believe it. These things shouldn't happen, but unfortunately it does, and it's an absolute disgrace in my eyes. The only thing we can do is deal with it by dealing with them personally and try to educate the next generation. That's the only way to try and kick it out, in my opinion." Kick It Out's chief executive is Samuel Okafor, and Samuel joins us live. Samuel, good afternoon to you. Van Dijk, and he's not the first one to say it, is talking about education. How much longer can you continue to educate those who seemingly don't want to be educated?
Well, look, first of all, just want to say, the courage, the resilience, the professionalism that Antoine showed, as you've rightly mentioned, Jim, in terms of being discriminated and then to put out the performance that he did, it's a real credit to him. I agree with Van Dijk's comment. It is a disgrace that players should have to do their job, what is their workplace, and to face the discrimination that they face. Look, I think before the education, the message needs to be really clear that if you choose to come to games and to racially discriminate players, that you will face the full consequences of that. I think that message needs to be really loud and clear. And I think there's also an opportunity for governing bodies and leagues to really show and to report on a regular basis the number of people that have been banned, evicted from games. I think there's a transparency piece there. There's always an education. You can't ban your way out of discrimination. So there also needs to be positive and proactive education so people understand what discrimination is, what discrimination isn't. But we run a fan education program here at Kick It Out, and for those fans that are banned from football, we take them through a restorative justice program, which helps them to see the impact of their behaviours, and the reoffending rate of that has been really low. So there is a space for education, Jim.
There still is a case for a space for education, Samuel. You're saying that this lunchtime. The fact of the matter is that the man was removed and an arrest was made. So has football and the response to what happened on Friday, has it shown that the game is well set in dealing with issues such as this when they arise?
I think the protocol was followed, which was really encouraging. Great to see that it was followed. Great to see that the individual was ejected from the stadium, and it's great to see that there are now ongoing investigations, and whatever may come out of that will come out of that. So I think it's really positive to see that that when incidences do happen, that the game is reacting to that, and really positive to see the support that he had from the players, opposition players, and the wider football family as well.
Simon, in similar circumstances in the past, we've heard that maybe players should get together and walk off. Does it show that the idea of players walking off in moments of racism are not needed?
Well, if there's a protocol and it's universally accepted that protocol is something of merit, then the only time that should happen is if the protocol isn't implemented. I mean, we are talking about not just discrimination based upon race. We're talking about all manners of discrimination that need to be attended to. Football as an industry is probably one of the least racist places to be, but society has its challenges, and society still needs to be dealt with in a certain way. I've always maintained the view that people should be consequenced for their behaviour, accountable for the things that they say, and pointed at specifically and explicitly, rather than this globalisation of a situation which, this environment is institutionally racist because some one person said something that was racist. In this instance, the person seems to have been pulled out of the crowd, seems to be being dealt with, so I think it's absolutely where it should be, and that's what should happen. And when we're talking about the reporting, because Sammy and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about the uptick in reporting and the uptick in circumstances. Now, some of that is because there's more availability to report, and some of it because the barriers have been slightly lowered on what people consider to be discrimination, i.e. the brand, the length and breadth of the different subject matters, whether it be race or whether it be ethnicity or whether it be sexual persuasion or whether it be transphobia. If you make an observation that's critical about biological males paying in biological females, that could be considered to be abuse. I actually think that we are getting far more adept at dealing with people and making individuals responsible, because that's where I think it starts. And if education is part of it and re-educating people to behave in a socially acceptable fashion, then of course that can't be disadvantageous, can it?
Samuel, do you go with what Simon is saying, that we are getting far more adept at dealing with a situation like this? In other words, Samuel, there's not much more than football can do that it's not doing at this time, is it?
Well, look, I think the protocol clearly worked over the weekend. I think we need to continue to ensure that protocol is making a difference as well. I think there is an opportunity to be more transparent in terms of we would like to see actually, how many people are facing prosecutions, how many people have been banned from stadiums. That level of transparency, that level of data needs to be there, because once you have that, you can then start to make an argument as to whether the protocol is effective or not.
Samuel, thank you very much indeed. I stress the 47-year-old man from Liverpool arrested on suspicion of a racially aggravated public order offence. Just before we leave the topic, Martin, it wasn't lost on me that Semenyo was at pains on social media to thank those who came around and supported him, and how the game in general on Friday night rallied round and supported him. That's why I play, said Antoine. He said, for moments like these, for my teammates, for everybody who believes in what this beautiful game can be, the overwhelming messages of support from across the football world remind me why I love this sport. We keep moving forward together.
I think we must say here, Antoine, how professionally well he dealt with this situation, when he must have been incensed by the discrimination that he was faced with. And he did exactly the right thing. He played brilliant match, Jim, and he put it behind him and then left it to the authorities to deal with it. We don't want it in our football grounds. You're seeing it. It's one person shouting. It was appalling to see that. And he could have acted in the wrong way, Jim. He didn't. He dealt with it in exactly the right way, played his football, and that's what we need. But he needs our support to get through that. And I think the football world really has seen it that way. And let's hope we can eradicate it in our lifetime. I don't think we will. We'll keep trying. We keep educating. But this discrimination, you see pockets of it. It is disappearing. but it hasn't completely gone as it
But it's
should.
very important for me, and I think it should be very important for people, not to allow this to be categorised as football's problem. Football's reaction to it is tantamount to what football does and doesn't have to be judged by. There is a zero tolerance policy in football. If you look at the idea that the representation inside football of ethnic minorities in this country is significant, the representation in all aspects of it, people will point towards ownership, but you've got a global ownership model around the world where everybody around the world can buy a football club from all colours and persuasions, and we mustn't confuse what's happening in society with what football's responsibility, because there's too much of what football's responsibility is. It's football's responsibility to fix this and football's responsibility to fix that, or football's responsibility to behave in this sort of fashion. What football's responsibility, and I'm not entirely sure I agree with the argument about transparency of prosecutions. You should perhaps find transparency around the argument of people that are successfully prosecuted rather than people that are alleged of offences, because that's a very different dynamic. And I worry sometimes with organisations that are pressure groups that unless they can find the problem, they cease to exist, and keep moving the parameters around what things look like. But in the event of undoubted situations like this, and behaving in a way that was unacceptable, and whatever that discrimination, behaving in a way that was unacceptable, and whatever that discrimination is, whether it's because of someone's colour of their hair, colour of their skin, or perceived sexual persuasion, it all has the same validity.
Antoine Semenyo, of course, wrote headlines of his own regards his own performance on Friday night, because Bournemouth might have lost the game by 4-2, but he got the 2, and he's some player, and he got the support, of course, they would hope to get on the night after this alleged incident. It's Jim Whyte, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live in talkSPORT with Selco. It's where the trade goes. If you're a fan of Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday, you won't be too keen that we talk about your exploits thus far, of course, in the Championship, but we're duty bound to, and for a variety of reasons, the fans of both clubs are none too optimistic about what they've witnessed thus far, even though it's just the very early stages of this new season, couple of games in. But Sheffield Wednesday, 23rd in the Championship. Sheffield United propping it up, 24th. Both of them played 2, lost 2. Sheffield United lost 1-0 at Swansea to make it 2 defeats from their first 2 under the new man Ruben Selles. And Selles said on the day, do you know what? In terms of recruitment, it hasn't been good enough.
I think our process has not been good enough. That is, I think it's obvious. In the beginning of the market, we talk about reinforcement with 3 players. Now with Anel and Kiefer gone, it's 5 players. We have not been able to bring anybody else for different circumstances, and on that everyone has part of it, as I will accept my part of it, but everyone in that part of the process. And it's not going to be any update for the weekend, so we are now in less than 24 hours. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock is the deadline, and nobody is there just to make the medical or be supportive for us. So that is what it is. We are not going to make excuses. We are going to just focus on what we can do. We know the players that can go on Saturday and then make the difference, and my focus is going to be on them from now until after the game.
I'll get to Sheffield Wednesday in a second, but Simon, is that prudent of Ruben to speak like that? That was pre-match. That was before they lost the game to Swansea. Is it wise to talk like that when you know the hierarchy are listening, and in spite of that, Ruben got on with it?
Depends what your relationship is, isn't it? I mean, ultimately he feels emboldened enough to say that. I mean, I'm assuming then if that's the case and they don't get precisely what they want in the next couple of days, that they can look forward to spending the rest of the time at the bottom of the league. No, that will not be the case. There's certainly enough talent at Sheffield United to be doing better than they currently are. Difficult games. Bristol City, they will be disappointed because Bristol City got handed their backsides by Sheffield United in the playoff semi-finals and in the league last season, and the first game of the season they played Bristol City, who smashed them at home 4-1. So they won't like the look of that. I get fed up. I do get fed up. In any other walk of life, you sometimes just have to get on with things. And I know things are challenging. I know that the public domain makes you respond to things with more pressure. But why don't you just get on with it and just turn around and say, it's not good enough, we'll get better. And then have your issues behind the scenes about who you can and can't get out, rather than constantly playing to the gallery of building yourself an exit strategy for excuses. You're in an industry which is very lucrative. It comes with the challenge of that you might lose your job. But on the way out, you normally get paid. So I get fed up with people constantly talking about the things that they haven't got, rather than just knuckling down and getting on with it. It's always a default position. What I haven't got is the reasons why I'm not able to achieve things. And you can deal with you can deal with the media, you can deal with the press. That's what you're equipped to do. Just get on with the fact that we haven't been very good in 2 games. It's not ideal what's going on at this moment in time, but we'll be better in the next game. Rather than always, it's I haven't got this, I didn't get a player, it's not ideal this. Well, that's what you're getting paid £500,000 a year for, or £1 million a year to be a bloody football manager. Get in the real world sometimes.
Steady, you're building yourself into a frenzy.
Well, it annoys me because it's always an excuse, and no other walk of life.
Simon's got a point,
profession has this, and I know it's the public domain that
he's got a point. Sells is 2 months into this.
One assumes the financial situation of the club would have been explained to him. I mean, Sheffield United have only spent £2 million so far, a sea of players that are going out the door. By the way, when you look at the Championship and you see what people are spending, there's not a great deal of money being spent, Jim, although I'm looking at the top end, Norwich, Wrexham, Birmingham have been big spenders. There's a whole lot of other teams, they're near neighbours, Sheffield Wednesday, who are not spending anything at all. So he's not the only one.
Under embargo.
He's not the other one in this situation. Yeah, he needs to get on with it. That's 3 defeats now, Jim.
Simon, I would say though, what if Ruben Selles has got something of a point, and they have been a bit slow to recruit,
and that's fine. We don't live in a perfect world. And the fact of the matter is, how about you overcome adversity rather than suggest it's the reasons why you can't achieve things? We all live in a perfect world, don't we? No, we don't. So never do you. And understand that, and I do empathise to some extent that you're in the public domain. But this constant default setting of whatever I haven't got, unless I've got my perfect world, I'm going to sit in front of the media and complain about it. How about making the team more difficult to beat when you haven't got what you want? And then when you have got what you want, what a chance we must have with you.
Jim,
because you're so special.
As much as I'd like to disagree with Simon, I do feel that the manager has to create this facade that everything's fine back in the workshop behind me. I'll protect the club. He's not really doing that. He's exposing the club a little bit here. But what he needs to do is just get on with it. There's 3 defeats now. I think they went out. They lost in the cup as well in midweek. So he has to start getting results. They were very close to pulling it off, and now suddenly tumbling down the Championship.
Meantime, it doesn't improve at Sheffield Wednesday, and the fans know that. A protest march against the owner, Chansiri, was organised pre-match. They lost the game 3-0 to Stoke. And it started with a mock funeral procession as the fans carried a fake coffin. So they're doing everything they can, in my view, quite rightly, to bring the focus of attention onto the fact that things behind the scenes at Sheffield Wednesday are more than desperate. And yet it doesn't seem to improve, Simon.
Whose attention they bring it to is going to make any difference?
Well, what else can they do? What else can they do?
Well, I mean,
the fans want to keep it in the public eye because the situation is desperate.
Well, the owner isn't seemingly wanting to spend any more money or able to spend any more money. Someone's going to come along and have to buy that football club.
Yeah, but at a price, says Chansiri.
Sure.
A price that suits him.
And there's nothing that's going to change that. He's not based in Sheffield. He's not particularly concerned about the background noise until he gets somewhere vaguely resembling what he thinks he can get. And perhaps there needs to be some correcting of that thinking, and that'll be done by the people that are going to buy it, not by the football fans. If they want to make a noise, they can abstain from going to the ground. I don't suggest that's the right way to go. They shouldn't have to go that route. And I've made the point previously about the fact that they were obviously quite supportive of him from the outset when he's spending lots of money. Now the wheel has turned, they're not so supportive. I don't want Sheffield Wednesday to be in this position. I've been on this show many times talking about the football club, the potential of it, and advocating to them, to Texter and to Turkey Yellow Shake, that this is a football club that you should be buying. And I know Texter's having thoughts about it. And some people might think that's out of the frying pan into the fire. But the fact of the matter is the football club isn't dying, it's just not winning right now, and I know they'll want to paint the worst potential picture, and I know there's lots of challenges there, and I know I've seen the articles that the club shop doesn't even have a name above it, and the stadium stand has not been allowed to be open because it hasn't had the prerequisite safety certificate, but I don't think the football club is in existential jeopardy. I think you will find there will be a solution.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope the football on Sheffield.
Let's hope so.
In Sheffield, that's on both fronts. Both clubs starts to turn around pretty quickly, Jim.
Unless, of course, you're a Leeds fan in that neck of the woods that are laughing at both Sheffield clubs.
We'll see what more we can get in the Sheffield Wednesday situation, no doubt, this week. No doubt, not for the first time. I will call Mr. Chansiri, and the first thing he'll ask me is, how do you get my number? But he knows I've got it, and he knows I'll call him. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible. Wonderful. And a thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Enjoyed it today.
Good man. Top drawer, as always. Simon, tomorrow at 10, be there. Enjoy. Who have you got in top boxing?
Paul Smith, Duke McKenzie for the expert information, and Spencer.
I see what you did there. Couldn't resist it, could he? We're at 1 o'clock this Monday lunchtime.